It is game day, National Football Show. It's your boy Big Sills. Thanks for coming aboard. And we have been waiting for this week for a long time. Really, no more speculation. It's more about let's go out and see what this football team can do. Let's get out and see what some of these players are going to give the Eagles this year in the 2022 season. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be kind of treating this like a pregame show, because tonight I'm going to be looking for some certain things tonight, and I'm going to get to those things here in a minute. By the way, bottom of the hour, legendary broadcaster and former Philadelphia Eagle, we will have Mike Golick on. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. Mike will give us his spin on what he thinks with this Philadelphia Eagle team, and we will talk with him. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. We'll take all your thoughts. Please do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Look, I'm going to flat out tell you this is what I'm going to be looking for tonight in the game tonight. Not so much looking at scoreboard. I don't really look at scoreboard when it comes to exhibition football. Okay? Dynasty night. Is that what we're going to call this? Dynasty night? Jesus criminy, man. I can't tell you how that interview all week long has just absolutely blown up. And everybody is saying that Michael Irvin had been saying that a couple other times before he said it right here on the National Football Show, guys. Mike believes that this Eagle team is going to do some damage this year in the NFC. And the way the NFC is lining up right now, I really do think so too. I've been telling you that for months. You know, we've been one of the very first people out of the gate that thinks that this football team could do some things this year. And I totally believe that they're going to be in a position to really go out and do some stuff. I can't wait to see this football team in action with some live competition. It's great that we're getting a chance to see the ones get out there and get a couple series. Look, again, a couple series in an offense like the Eagles, that could be an entire quarter. Okay? That could be an entire quarter. Okay? It can be. It can be an entire quarter. I appreciate. Hey, Michael, those guys do a great job all up and down the lineup. 365 Sports Take, we really appreciate it. I can't wait for our legendary post-game show to get going with Mike Missinelli and Seth and with D Gunn. I can't wait to see how that thing ends up working out, man. I can't wait to listen to those guys. And once again, I really appreciate you guys coming in here. All right. Look, I got a list of players that I'm going to be looking at right out of the gate here. But this is where we're going to start here for tonight's game. New York Jets, obviously, the only home game that the Eagles have in the exhibition season. This is what I'm going to be looking for. First off, let me ask you guys, what do you think you're going to be looking for more towards on the offensive side tonight? What are you looking for tonight when it comes to this Eagle team against the Jets tonight? Look, I think the Jets are improved. I think Joe Douglas has done a nice job by adding some components to the football team, both offensively and defensively. They've got to be better on defense than they were a year ago. That's Robert Saley's, in my opinion, that's supposed to be his forte. They were not very good last year on defense. So what are you looking for tonight? Let's do it first offensively. What are you looking for? A.J. Brown, big plays. What are you looking for? Let's do offensively first. Let's start there with the offense. Young players mainly. So are you looking at the depth? Let me add in now and let me fill in the blank here. I'm going to be looking how Steichen, Jalen, Minshew, and the offense tries to move the chains. What's going to be the sequence of plays on how they're going to try to accomplish moving the sticks this year? That's going to be different from what they did a year ago. We all know this. The Eagles can win football games with last year's approach, right? We're going to be looking at last year's approach, and we know that they can win ball games with that approach, correct? We know this. How are you going to add AJ? How are you going to get these guys open that you spent so much assets on? Got a first rounder on why? and you got $100 million at Z. What's Dallas Goedert's role? What are going to be the back's role in the passing game? I'm going to be looking more so than this at the passing game than the run game today. When I see them playing tonight, how are you going to be adding? Now, it's exhibition football, so you got to remember something. You don't really kind of want to show your hand too much. You want to keep it close to your vest a little bit because, again, you don't want the Lions to be able to game plan you and have multiple tape on you when it comes to the exhibition season. But what you want to see is a philosophy. Flex says this. I was thinking last night that this team starting to look like the Colts with Peyton, great O-line, two, I would say, really good wide receivers, a top-flight tight end, and a solid game. Again, Peyton Manning and Jalen Hurts, that's a pretty big reach. But I get where you're saying, okay? Actually, I would say that this O-line might be better than that O-line. And for the record, that Jeff Saturday offensive line that Peyton had, I mean, what's his name? Tyreek Glenn, the guy who was the offensive tackle, Saturday, all those guys up and down the line of scrimmage. Those guys were together for like a decade, along with Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator. They were together for a long time. They built a lot of continuity up. Plus, you had Dallas Clark, the tight end. I mean, you had Edgerrin James, Marshall Faulk as running backs back there too. I mean, that was a star-studded offense, man. I'm moving the sticks. That offense is 10 times better, in my opinion, because you got Hall of Famers all over the place at the skill positions. Hall of Famer Edgerrin James, Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk, Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison, Hall of Famer soon-to-be Reggie Wayne, Hall of Fame, and I don't think so much Hall of Famer when it comes to Dallas Clark, but he was a hell of a player, and you got Hall of Famer Peyton Manning. That's a lot to say about this young Eagle offense to put them in that category. I say more than this, Flex. I got you, Flex. I know where you're going, Flex. I'm not holding your feet to the fire that you're comparing Jalen Hurts to Peyton Manning. I understand what you're saying here. I think it looks more like the Troy Aikman offense. Dominant running attack, effective on third down. You got a big physical wide receiver in A.J. Brown like Michael Irvin. I see more of that than I see the offense in Indianapolis with Peyton Manning. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that Dallas Cowboy offense with the triplets, that was a physical approach to winning football games. And to me, what I don't want to have happen, okay? I don't want to have this happen. I don't want to see the Eagles get away from that physical approach and that dominant approach. Okay? I don't want to see them get away from that. I want that approach where you're still going to try to punch people in the face. But tonight I want to see, I'm going to get into individual players that I want to see tonight here in a second. But as a philosophical approach to the game tonight, how are you going to move the sticks this time compared to a year ago? You can't be one-dimensional like you were last year. You just can't be. You're not going to beat the elite teams. Last year's approach will not win the significant games like Minnesota, the Cowboys, being in that Packer game. You're not going to beat those teams if you don't add a different approach compared to what you did last year. Make sense? Okay? You don't want it to be, well, this is what we're only going to do. I was watching the game last night between the Patriots and the Giants, and I loved watching all the young guys getting an opportunity to play last night. And you started to see a little bit of the philosophical ways that Belichick was going to try to move the sticks this year. And to me, that's what I watch for when it comes to exhibition football, okay? That's kind of what I look at. Jalen Hurts, 1-for-11 against playoff teams. Well, that's got to improve. And remember something easy. Going into this year, that's got to be one of the things that drastically changes. Okay? That's what people say about Lamar Jackson, too. Hey, you got to beat these big teams. You got to beat these big quarterbacks. Look, guys, how many people think that this Eagle team going into this 2022 season is elite? How many people think that? How many people are looking at this and going, this Eagle team is elite? You're not elite until you beat elite teams. You can't be considered elite until you beat elite teams. Lamar Jackson last year, when he beat Kansas City, I started going like this. That's a significant win. That's a significant win. Look at Dak Prescott. Dude, Dak's got to beat significant teams. He's in that same category as Jalen is right now. Okay? He's in the same category. Flex says you just got to bring back the swagger and physicality. I want to see the defense running to the ball, swarming this season, and the offense should be a top 10. Mike says it's not elite yet, but it's time to prove it. It is time to prove it. Hey, you know what? I'll say this to you about the kid from Tennessee last night. I loved what Mike Vrabel did. He pulled him out of the game and said, I know you can run. In this league, you got to win games throwing the ball, kid. You're not going to win games like you're in college. This is not the college game. You have to win games from the pocket. Don't forget, Mike Golick will join us at the bottom of the hour. Wise guy, I like the Aikman Cowboys comparison. Yeah, because you know what? You don't have Emmitt Smith. But what you do have, you have an O-line that's comparable to that great O-line that Dallas had. Tune, Gogan, Stepnoski, Nate, Eric Williams. Those guys were elite. And you can make the argument that the best part of that Cowboy dynasty was that O-line. How many times have we said the Cowboys O-line was one of the most dominant factors? The two things. What did they have? They had an elite pass rusher in Charles Haley, and they had an elite O-line. The rest of those players fit in. Anybody can look like a superstar when you're knocking people and you're knocking them on the ground the way that Cowboy team knocked people on the ground, right? You can make anybody look elite. And that's kind of what the Eagles have here. Him getting coached like that last night, Willis getting coached like that, having a coach pull you out of a game and telling you, hey, kid, I don't need you to do that. We know you can run. We understand that. But there were two dudes open. You got to hit them guys. In this league, you got to hit them guys. And you know what, easy money? John Robinson, the general manager, Mike Vrabel, the coach. That's why he's the coach of the year. Okay? That's why he's the reigning coach of the year. They do a great job of coaching their players. They do a great job of keeping the attitude and the identity of that football team intact. That's what I love about the Titans. The Titans, when the Eagles play the Titans in week 13, don't think that game's going to be some walkover. They'll be ready to rock with you, man. That team's going to be ready to rock. So offensively tonight for the Eagles, I want to see how their mental approach is going to be and what they're going to try to do in the passing game. I'm not concerned about – I'm like last night. Mike Vrabel's not concerned about Willis's running of the football at quarterback. He wants them to understand you got to win games throwing the ball. That's kind of the same thing in Philly. How are you going to implement more of a passing game with Steichen and with Jalen Hurts tonight? How are you going to put – no Devontae Smith, okay? But what's AJ going to look like in this system? And how are you going to have that balance? Again, like I said, I'll get to the players here in a minute. On defense, what are you looking for tonight? This is kind of my forte. What are you looking for tonight for this Eagle team against the Jets? Defensively, what are you looking for? For me, I want to see how you're going to take personnel groupings, and I want to see situational play calling tonight. I want to see the situational play calling that the defensive coordinator has to show me that he's different from a year ago and that we can underline this. When we talk on Monday, I want us to say this. It was personnel last year. It was clearly personnel. Okay? It was the fact that he didn't really have all the chess pieces on the chessboard. And we can finally put that to bed. I want to know how his mental approach is when it's 3rd and long or 3rd and short, 1st and 2nd down. What's the groupings going to be? Are you going to go to a 4-front, 34, 46? What are you going to look at here? What are you going to play a banjo defense? Are you going to bring blitzes? What are you going to have as a mental approach against this Jets team tonight? Okay? So tonight, when you're watching the game, and I know some of you are going to be looking at it going, well, the starters are going to play just limited tonight. Look at coaching philosophy. I would also circle, watch the special teams. Keep an eyeball on that because that could be a factor this year for this team. You know the worst thing that can happen to the Philadelphia Eagles? You got a 12-5 football team, but you got a 5-12 special teams. Don't let that happen. What you don't want to have happen on your football team is that you got this marvelous collection of guys on defense and offense. And you got a 5-12 scenario where you got a special teams that's one of the worst in the league. That'll cost you 3-4 games, especially in a league where the point differential is only 3 points. So tonight, I want to watch Jonathan Gannon. What's he going to do on 3rd and long? What's he going to do on 1st and 2nd down? How is he going to use certain players when it comes to group settings and personnel groupings? What are you going to do in the secondary? You're going to bring nickel in, or are you going to bring another pass rusher in? What are you going to do that was different from a year ago to utilize all the assets that you have on your football team? That's kind of what I want to see. Okay, I want to see how they're going to fundamentally have an approach towards the game. By the way, don't forget, we will have Mike Golick at the bottom of the hour, legendary broadcaster, former Eagle, years and years and years at ESPN. He'll be with us. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. We're going to ask him not only about the Eagles, but NFL-wise as we go across the board. Steve goes, I want to see Hurts, not over-under throws. You know, I was watching Sports Take today a little bit. Xander, one of the best lines I ever heard. Any analyst that any of us have had from the morning show to us, one of the best lines I've heard. Do you know what this season has to be in 2022 for the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you know what it has to be? Jalen Hurts not getting carried to the playoffs. Him carrying the Eagles to the playoffs. That is I think, quite frankly, that's what we've all been saying. Jalen Hurts got carried to the playoffs last year. That's a fact. He didn't lead anybody. He did not lead anybody. He was carried to the playoffs. Okay? It's not a rip. Ben Roethlisberger was carried to the Super Bowl with the Steelers. He was carried. Running game, defense, Ben was terrible. Barrett Brooks says it all the time. This year, the second time, Ben, he carried the Steelers to the Super Bowl. Okay? Look at what Astro Av, whatever says. How was he carried? Because they took the ball out of his hands in the second half of the season. What were you watching? They were 2-5 when they were throwing the ball. He was carried. Even the analysts today on Sports Take said it. He was carried to the playoffs. It's not Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes carrying his team. They were 27th in passing. The rushing offense and the O-line took over, dude. What are you talking about? See, there's a blind witness there. There's a blind witness. Whatever, dude. He can't look, again, what we're looking at tonight is we're looking at a scenario tonight where I want to see approach when it comes to the offense and how they're going to, okay, how they're going to, yeah, but he wasn't the Hey, Astro, win a game that matters, okay? And when he got into a game that mattered, you were destroyed. Again, let's see what's different from a year ago. They were one-dimensional a year ago. One-dimensional. You're not going to win in the NFL one-dimensional. This is not the wishbone offense of Oklahoma. Okay? Okay? R. Gravy, appreciate you coming aboard. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button here. All right, I'm going to give you, before we get Mike Golick on here, I'm going to look at some of the players here. I was texting with Barrett back and forth here. Hey, Tape Weight goes, Hurts had 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. Congratulations. He's a hell of a running back. He's a hell of a running back. Congratulations. Those were great running back stats. How about some quarterback stats? Okay. Here's some of the players tonight I want to look at. I'm going to start it with Cam Jurgens. And Cam Jurgens, this is one of the reasons why I think that you now have Jalen Hurts playing one or two series because of the injury to Jason Kelce. If I were the Jets and Robert Saleh, I would take a nose. I would line him up right over Cam Jurgens, and I would pound that guy to see if he can get that ball up to the quarterback. One of the fundamental things that a lot of centers struggle with when they make that transition from the college game to the pro game is that these defensive coordinators will put a center in a position where he's got to take on a 350-pound nose guard. Let's see if you can get the ball up. Okay? It's one thing to do it in college. It's another thing to do it in a professional football game. Flex says, absolutely. Thank you very much, Flex. Appreciate it, brother. That's all this SZN. It's about finding out whether Hurts is the guy or not. His passing attempts per game has got to go up. Yeah, if you want to be balanced. It's not a balanced offense yet. It hasn't proven it. You've added pieces. Actually, a piece to last year's football team. You really haven't added anything else. You added A.J. Brown. Okay? How much of an impact is that going to have on Jalen this year in 2022? We will find out. The speculation's over. We're going to find out. I want to see Cam Jurgens because he may have to play in this Lions game. He may have to actually play. We may have to see him depending on – look, I think that Jason Kelce is going to be ready to rock and roll. Okay? It's about the trenches. Always will be about the trenches. Kevin says, how do you hate on a young man that does everything asked of him? That has nothing to do with playing football in the NFL. Great guys, great, whatever. What does that mean? I don't care about those intangibles right now. Throw the ball, be accurate, be on time, make sure your passes, and you have progression reading. It's not hating. It's that stuff with being a great guy. It's like thanking me for not robbing a bank, guy. Well, he's a great guy and he shows up, he works hard. So what? It's the NFL. Congratulations. You pass the you pass the interview. Congratulations. Now you got to go out and perform. I'm not yanking anything. Dude, Jalen Hurts is getting every opportunity to succeed this year. He should be given that opportunity to succeed. The ownership, the coach, the general manager, for 2022, and that's all you can be in charge of right now. They are vested in Jalen Hurts. They've already told Gardner Minshew, you'll never see a starting position unless something catastrophic happens. Gardner Minshew has to be the most miserable guy on the Philadelphia Eagle roster because he knows he has no chance of starting. Pat goes, what kind of play calls do you expect for Hurts? You know what, too? I want to see how they create passing lanes tonight. I want to see how they're going to try to get the ball to AJ. That's what I want to see. I want to see on first and second down, are they going to get away from running the ball, or are they going to be like they did when they finished the season last year, a dominant at the point of attack team, or are they going to start adding something like we were just talking? You got to improve your passing game. Hey, the one loss, it doesn't really matter here. So at least try it. Let's get this going. Try to get some quality repetition going. Okay? How many series are the starters getting? Gravy, I thought I heard between 1 and 2. Okay? Steve says, it sucks that Minshew's a better pass. Yeah, but I look at Gardner Minshew and I already know who he is and what he is. You know what I'm saying? Boy, Tape weight. Man, I really don't want to see RPOs tonight. That's not a pro offense, man. It's a gadget offense. I don't want to see a gadget offense tonight. I want to see an offense that looks like a prototypical offense. And that usually means this, balance. By the way, I don't want it to resemble what I'm watching in Kansas City. I don't want to look at it what they do in Green Bay. I want a customized, tailor-made offense for Jalen Hurts so that Jalen Hurts can be successful in this offense. Jalen Hurts is not going to be successful in an offense like Cincinnati. You put Jalen Hurts in Cincinnati, he would get destroyed with that horrible O-line. 70 sacks. That's not what he is. He had a phenomenal O-line to work behind last year, and that's to his advantage. If Joe Burrow had that O-line like that, if Joe Burrow had the Philadelphia Eagle O-line, they may have went undefeated last year. That football team. You give up 70 sacks. If I were Joe Burrow, okay, I'd be saying this to you, man. Hey, can you take some extra Lloyds of London out on me here, man? I need it here. All right. Exhibition football, like I said, not looking so much at the scoreboard, but looking at approaches and how teams are going to try to approach the upcoming season. And who better to do that with than our friend Mike Golick here, legendary broadcaster, former Eagle himself. I appreciate you doing this, Mike. Mike, am I right when I say that about the exhibition season? It's not so much about the score. You just want to see the new guys and some of the approach that you're going to see this year, especially with this Eagle team.
Well, I mean, listen, it has nothing to do with the score as far as I'm concerned. And, listen, I was a 10th rounder, so it was about, doing what I was supposed to do on the field to make the team. So from an individual standpoint, you have different things you're looking for, guys who are secure in their job. And I would say in my 9-year career, maybe 5 of those years, I felt pretty secure. The other years, felt like I was fighting for a job. So it's guys that are secure, the stars, guys who are somewhat secure, and guys who are fighting their butt off every day, just to hope that they don't get that knock on the door or that phone call at the end of camp before the season starts that says they're cut. But what teams, what fans are concerned about are teams. And, is there a quarterback battle going on? Is there a different position battle going on? Other than that, you want to see your players get up after every play, whether it's a practice together with them, which I think those are fantastic now, quite honestly, probably better than the preseason games. And then the preseason games, get your reps in and get out, because you need to find backups. You got to, because understand a lot of rosters are set in different ways already by number. You get 53, obviously, and each team already basically knows a lot of who they're going to be. Some are fighting for a different position, but you got to know who those guys are going to be if that starter gets hurt and it takes one play. We've already seen, guys go down. Mekhi Becton for the 2nd year in a row, the right tackle for the Jets, done. So who's next? Step up. You get your chance. So this, while a lot of people aren't really, ecstatic about watching preseason games, especially the 3rd and 4th quarter, since I was a 10th rounder, my son Mike was an undrafted free agent. I've always felt a special kinship to kind of watching those quarters and watching some guy you've never heard of make a big play and hopefully make a team.
Mike, help me out on the history of this here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were in Houston first with the Oilers.
Yeah.
Did you feel, Mike, because I mean, look, they had Doug Smith. They had some really talented people on that O-line, on that D-line, even on the O-line. Munchak's there, Bruce Matthews. That was a hell of a football team. So did you feel, hey, did you know, because some of the Eagle guys that are going to be backups tonight and some of the guys, like you said, are going to be playing tonight, did you also feel you needed to put game tape on? You really needed to play, and you were auditioning, maybe not just for the Oilers, but also for the rest of the league?
You know, I wasn't smart enough to think I was auditioning for the rest of the league my rookie year. I was just do every play well, look good on tape. I tell young players who are going to go into the draft after I'm doing bowl games or something years ago when I was doing the bowl games, they would say, what's the key? And I said, one of the keys is in practice that night, make the coach stop the tape and run it over because you did something well. You only, especially when you're undrafted or a low draft pick, you don't get many reps. Now, what helps is it's a 90-man roster. When I was playing, you could have 120 guys on the roster, so you didn't get a lot of reps. And now it's tougher for the guys that don't have that are lower drafted because you can't go 2 practices in a row hitting. So the one practice hitting, you probably let your starters do more of that. And then the second practice, you don't even have helmets on. You can't show anything then. So Dan, I went brought up from my dad, and my brother Bob was in the league at that point. You go balls out every single play and you try and get that win. And then when you get in that preseason game, man, you got to make those plays count because you've been on the field. I mean, I say this all the time. Players know when you screw up on the field. I screw up on the field, and I'm like, oh, God, that's going to look horrible on film. And when you're a 10th round pick and you're saying that in a preseason game, you start to worry a little bit. So these guys, I mean, and that's the tough part because I get fans, they don't care, and I get it. But God, for a lot of those players in these games, this is their career. I mean, this is what they're fighting to do. If they don't get to do it here, maybe somewhere else. But at some point, the clock runs out. For some of these guys, it's their last chance.
Mike, how far can this Eagle team go this year?
Oh, I mean, my God. Well, listen, we know we start up front. The O-line is playing well, obviously. Kelsey, obviously, he had to get his elbow cleaned out, but that shouldn't keep. The dude's been playing, with duct tape and chicken wire for how many years? He's as tough as they come. He probably ends the year at about 250. I mean, the dude's unreal. The D-line is a good D-line, pass rushing. They get stronger with Jordan Davis, who I covered a couple of Georgia games last year, and his ability to push the pocket there. I mean, I think they can take out the Cowboys. I still don't understand why the Cowboys got rid of Amari Cooper. You don't know where Zeke is right now. It's a big year for Zeke. That O-line, you still have Smith, you still have Zach Martin, who are getting older, but they're great. But how are the next guys going to do that are filling in those spots? So Jalen Hurts, man, I mean, he's got weapons now on the outside. He can run as well. A lot's going to be on his plate. Because this team is ready to make a move now this year, and I think they can, and that heaps even more pressure on the quarterback.
You think he's the guy, Mike? You think Jalen Hurts can be a franchise guy?
I get asked this all the time to compare Jalen and Tua, of which one I think has a better chance of being the guy, and I think Jalen does, in all honesty. I think he can. But what helps is the talent around him. Now, Miami has got some good talent around Tua. The defense is playing well. The O-line has been an issue. They're getting better. You get Tyreek Hill to go with Waddle. That's certainly going to help you a lot. So that's going to help Tua. I just have more confidence in Jalen behind that line and with that team right now and what they're going to do. I do think he can. And listen, it's a big year for him. It's a big year for a guy like Tua, for a franchise to say, yes, this is going to be our guy that we're going to invest in. And I do think Jalen can be that guy.
Mike, when you look at all the new faces that are on the defense, you get James Bradbury on a 1-year deal. You're adding Hassan Reddick in. Here's the thing about Reddick, Mike. I mean, this is the third team in 3 years. It goes from now productive though, double sacks in Arizona, double-digit sacks in Carolina. But I've always thought, Mike, with Hassan Reddick, that you look at him and you go, he's 6'1", he's 250. Mike, he's one of those Kevin Green kind of. You've got to, like Teddy Bruschi, where you're that tweener guy, And you don't know if he's an every down guy or if he's just a situational pass rusher, because you're not going to line him up on a 6'6" offensive tackle for 17 weeks, Mike.
No, you're not.
Bases. Are you concerned?
No. The reason I'm not is I think they have depth on that line. And any great line has rotation. You bring guys in or you use them situationally. And I do think that they have the ability to do that. Now obviously going with getting Jordan Davis the way they did as well, but Graham and Cox and Hargrave, and obviously Davis rotating in there. So you have guys rotating in, and who's going to rotate with Hassan Reddick? He's not going to play 80 plays, but when you get 12 and a half sacks 2 years ago, 11 sacks last year, that's what you need to do. And sure, you need to stop the run as well, but that's what you have a rotation system for, that when that offense, the opposing offense is in a passing situation, that Reddick needs to be on the field because he can rush the passer. Because I get it. I get that tweener role. I mean, hell, the tweener role used to have no place in the NFL. Yeah. Now there are these pass rushers, but they're very specific, but they have a role. And this guy is monopolized on that with these little one-year deals going around. I'm sure he'd like a monster deal to go with that as well. But no, I think as long as you have a number of players to rotate on a D line, that he can be used effectively.
Mike, a couple NFL questions here for you. Cleveland Browns, do you think they regret, if they had to do it all over again, do you think that they regret putting the investment and putting that money out there like that, and all the commodities and all the draft choices that they put into this? Do you think they regret it if they had to go back and do it again?
For Deshaun?
Yeah.
No, because that's a long-term play. It's not a one-year play, and I think,
So they were prepared for this. You think they knew that it could be here?
Yes, I think, and quite honestly, Jacoby Brissett, check out Jacoby Brissett's stats if he starts. Anytime he started double-digit games or more, he's never thrown more than double-digit interceptions. So he doesn't turn the ball over. They have a great O-line, a great running game, an athletic tight end, an excellent defense. So they don't need him to be a superstar. Now, to get as far as you want to go in the NFL, and that's a Super Bowl, they would probably need a quarterback like Deshaun who could be that playmaker. But I still think he can carry him. And when it was the first 6 games, you thought, okay, those first 6 games, if Deshaun missed them, there was Carolina, there was Atlanta, there was the Jets. The only division game was Pittsburgh, the worst, I think, in that division. You could get by that. But I have a feeling it may be the year now. And if it's the year, then don't be surprised if they trade for a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And try and go down that road, because they have talent now to win. I think they can win some with Jacoby Brissett. Certainly, Jimmy Garoppolo has proven he can take a team, pretty far. He just has trouble closing the deal. And those teams he had in San Fran were good running teams. He had good receivers as well. They had a really good defense. So you could have that in Cleveland. So that will be interesting to me. If it's a long suspension now, will they go for Jimmy Garoppolo? But I still do not think they will regret trading for him.
You know what, Mike? You mentioned San Francisco, and I said this to John Lynch a couple days ago on a text. I'm like, so you're dumping a guy with the playoffs 5-2. That's 38-16, and your coach is 7-28 without him as a head coach for a guy that, Mike, I had to go get YouTube on Trey Lance because there were not a lot of game film on the kid from North Dakota State. And I'm like, okay, I get you traded all those assets away to Miami, but boy, what a gamble, no?
Oh, I agree. And then to trade up for him, right?
Yep.
To grab him. I was kind of shocked at that move. And everybody talks about the high ceiling Trey Lance could have, but we haven't seen anything yet. We saw him in spot duty. But the thing is, we don't know in practice. I remember texting with Andy Reid years ago. And we would text back and forth occasionally about Pat Mahomes when he was a rookie, when he wasn't playing, when Alex Smith was playing, saying this guy in practice is unbelievable. What he's doing, where do you see this guy play? I mean, now I haven't heard any of that in San Francisco. Now I haven't been texting anybody in San Francisco, but you haven't heard coming out of there, wow, you should see this guy practice, and man, can't wait to see what he's going to do. And I don't know. And Jimmy was a winner, but he had trouble getting over that hump, and he's starting to get nicked up. He was good for missing a few games a year. But I'm with you. I mean, but when you make that move, when you especially trade to go up to number 3, you are saying you are not putting it in pencil. you are putting an indelible ink. This guy is going to be our franchise at some point, and they chose to do it now. I'm sure while they could maybe thought they could get a lot, more for Garoppolo, but Garoppolo obviously the shoulder surgery, and now, we're waiting to see what happens. They're not going to get a ton for him at all. So you wondered at some point, because I know John said it, you don't know how true it is, we can absorb that $25 million. We're okay with Garoppolo's $25 million, because wouldn't you love to have that guy sitting there in case Trey Lance isn't ready to go? Because this is San Francisco team, again, that has some talent. You don't want to waste a year with a quarterback trying to grow into this position.
Mike, finally here. I had a conversation with Seth on our show a couple days ago, Seth Joyner.
Yeah.
And I told him this. I said, Seth, the 1985 Bears, the gangrene defense, the Ravens defense, or that Buck defense.
Yeah.
Probably the best defenses, Mike, we've seen you and I playing and covering them. What was it like being on that gangrene? And where do you put that defense in the category with those other teams?
Well, you mentioned all the other ones, and people get mad at me when I say this, is I can't put them as high because even though you're 1/3 of offense, defense, special teams, what did all those other teams do?
Championship.
They won a championship. We never got to an NFC championship game. The furthest we got was we beat the Saints in the wild card game, got the divisional game, and got beat pretty bad in Dallas when Dallas went on to win their first of 2 in a row in 92 and 93. So we never closed the deal. But let me tell you, that group of talent, from that line of Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and Jerome Brown and Seth Joyner and Eric Allen, Andre Waters, Wes Hopkins. I mean,
Jesus.
It was, and let me tell you about, I should say Reggie's the best player I've ever seen, I've ever played with. I know people talk about Lawrence Taylor, and there's that battle back and forth, who's the best defender ever. I got to see up close and personal what Reggie could do, God rest his soul. But playing with those guys, Seth Joyner was one of the best and most prepared and smartest players I ever played with. God knows he was physical enough. He looked like an axe murderer all the time. He never smiled on or off the field. I still see him now, and I say, Seth, you got to smile more. I said, people are afraid of you. He goes, why? I said, you're big and you walk around. I said, if I took a picture of you, it could be used as a mugshot.
Mike, you should see him on a post-game show.
I know.
What'd you say? Hey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's unbelievable. And people always said, oh, he'd be a great coach. I said, no, he wouldn't. Not because he couldn't coach. He would get so ticked off when the players he was coaching weren't doing what he said to the way he wanted it done. He would blow his stack. So, but this dude watched more film, knew everybody's position, was so prepared. He was, and he put it on you. He'd say, you damn well better know what you're doing as well. He was a great leader. We had a lot of great leaders on that defense, but Seth was something else. But listen, what can I say? It was fantastic. Here's an average defensive player playing with these unbelievably great players of that era or all time. I mean, and this was before free agency. So we were all got to be good friends as well, because we were together for 6-7 years because there was no free agency. So a lot of us were friends as well as teammates.
What's this, Mike? $25 million for Reggie, 18, 15 for Clyde. Jerome's going to be in the $20 million range.
Yeah.
Seth is going to be in the $15 million range. Well, all those guys that they couldn't keep that defense together today.
No, that would have been the problem. I mean, is the cap. I mean, now the first year of free agency, though, was 93, and 11 of us were free agents, and Norman Brayman, the owner, then didn't keep any of us. Reggie was the big one, obviously, to go. He didn't want to spend the money. He was kind of an absentee owner. But you're right. In today's game, this defense, once contracts started coming up, never would have been able to stay together, because those guys would have obviously deserved. We didn't even throw in Eric Allen out at the cornerback position of what he would have got. So, yeah, it never would have been able to stay together. But we got to for a while, and that's obviously our biggest regret, that we never got to cap that off with a Super Bowl win.
What did Jerome call the guy in France?
Guy in France, and he was either in Florida at his dealerships or in France. I mean, he truly was an absentee owner. He was a bottom line guy. And listen, he owned the team. He's allowed to do it however he wants. But, yeah, to have 11 free agents in year one and not re-sign any of them, especially Reggie White, Yeah, I don't think that was the best move in the world.
2 minutes, Mike, on Notre Dame. What do you expect? And I voted, by the way, my preseason ballot, I put him 5th. I think there's going to be an energy at Notre Dame, in my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. You're around the program way more than I am. I think there's going to be an energy, and get this, okay, it's us against the world kind of mentality after what happened with the coach. And I think there's a lot of talent in Notre Dame, and I think this could be one of the better teams that they've had in about 10 years.
Well, the tough part will be, the quarterback position. You got a couple of quarterbacks, fighting to be the starter for now a couple of years since Ian Book started for what seemed like 10 years. You've had quarterback. Tommy Riccio coordinators had to deal with different quarterbacks. The O-line is going to be much better. Getting Harry Hiestand back as their coach was a phenomenal move. They have studs on every level on the defensive side. They have the best tight end between Bowers from Georgia and Mayer from Notre Dame. They're the two best tight ends in all of college football. Yeah, I mean, Marcus is a great guy. Marcus has a ton of energy. Marcus does an incredible job of recruiting, but we all know how that goes. It comes down to wins and losses. So you can be the greatest guy in the world, but if you don't put the wins there, then it doesn't matter. But he's just starting. And the players, are ready to go, but what a tough start. While you put ND at 5, what'd you put Ohio State? 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's who they open up with, at Ohio State, week 1, Marcus Freeman's alma mater. So that's a tough go right out of the gate. But the enthusiasm here, because, listen, Brian Kelly chose to leave. It's his choice. He chose to leave. Marcus was hired, and the players absolutely went nuts. They love the guy, was only here 1 year as a DC, but he's a recruit. He recruits incredibly well. So the hopes are very, very high here. No doubt about it.
Yeah, Mike, I'll tell you what now down in Baton Rouge, everything is – I was like, the guy's from the land of maple syrup. What are you talking about, Cajun? Yeah, hey, how you doing down there?
Yeah.
I was like,
there's been some interesting things there, as well as him really not getting the recruits even in Louisiana.
How about all the dudes leaving? How about all the guys jumping in the portal? 20-some-odd guys bailing on that. I mean, they're kind of keeping that under the radar, but people are telling me, Mario Cristobal tells me all the time, he goes, hey, man, your boy Brian Kelly, 23 guys are in that transfer portal.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Now, listen, he secured a big bag there for sure, but let's see. I mean, now you're in that SEC where you can get better players consistently year round, but you're playing, the Bamas and the Georgias of the world, and you're in the SEC. It could be an eye-opening experience for him.
What's up? What's coming up for you this fall, Mike?
I'm going to call games for Westwood One, the national radio games. I'll probably do the NBC, the Sunday night games. I'll probably go do those for Westwood One Radio. Do that for the season, do the playoffs, do the Super Bowl. Still doing podcasts for DraftKings as well. Me and my son Mike, he's doing his, I'm doing mine. So just staying in it enough to be in it. Not getting up at 4. Yeah, thanks. Not getting up at 4:15 every day, which is nice. So it can keep me youthful looking.
Yeah, you're not a vampire anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all good. Hey, Mike, thank you so much for spending so much time with us, man. I so appreciate our friendship. Thank you, my friend. Have a successful season.
Thanks, Dan. I'll talk to you.
You got it. That is our friend, Mike Golick. Yeah, very cool. Very cool for him to spend that time with us. Thank you so much there. Again, check him out, too, this coming fall there on Westwood One. Hey, my friends, do me a favor. Check out our friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. Been telling you this now for months. Listen, if you're in the market right now for getting an attorney, if you've been hurt or injured on the job, one of the most important things that you can possibly do is getting an attorney and a firm that will be 100% behind you. That's right. For the people, it's not a slogan. This is who they are. The biggest firm in the country with over 800 attorneys strong, making them the biggest law firm in the country, ready to do battle for you. And offices in Philly, New York, and in Florida. My friends, Morgan & Morgan has been collecting money for their clients for the past 30 years to the tune of $13.5 billion. Call them at 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. The call is free. The consultation's free. Do me a favor. When you do that, know this. They're open 24/7, 7 days a week. And when you call Morgan & Morgan, tell them Dan Sileo sent you.
Many times when people are injured at a place of business, they don't realize they may have a case. The fact is, injuries should not happen. And most of the time when someone is injured, someone is at fault. Maybe the store manager installed a cheap, slippery floor, or there wasn't proper security. After an injury at a hotel, restaurant, store, or any place of business, it's so important to call us. Time matters, size matters. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back. National Football Show. Guys, please hit the like button. Thank you guys so much. I want to thank my friend Mike Golick for coming aboard. I saw you guys maybe see if Mike Golick will come on once a week. I don't know if I can get Mike to come on once a week. His schedule's pretty packed, but we'll see if we can get him on a few times a month during the upcoming season. Before I get into tonight's game and some more of the players that I want to see, I really like that Tyler Huntley kid with the Ravens. Man, that kid's a baller, man. What a good-looking football player he is. Guy plays every single game to win. Every play's a sense of urgency. You know, I talked to Kyle Whittingham, his coach at Utah, and he was telling me how competitive he is, how hard of a worker he is. He's got all the Jalen Hurts intangibles that you guys talk about all the time. This guy's got exceptional talent, and without a doubt, one of the absolutely best things that they have going on in Baltimore right now is a scenario where you got yourself a kid who you really like. I know that John Harbaugh likes the kid a lot. That guy can play, man. Please hit the like button. I appreciate it. Let's get back into some of the guys. Hey, did you hear what Mike said? Everybody this week that has come on the program believes that the Eagles are now the team to beat in the NFC East. And all the things that they've done in the offseason. Look, it's easy to say this and it's easy to underline this, right? When we make the comment here, watch this. Right now, here on August 12th, going into the exhibition game tonight against the Jets, they're paper champions. Now you've got to start taking what you've applied and what you've built here, and you got to go do it. How many times have you seen certain teams that put all these great players together? Look at what they did forever in Washington. Look at even the dream team that they had a couple of years ago in Philadelphia. They put all these players together. It didn't amount to anything. Look at what you had up in New England. Watch this. Let me show you how the difference on what we're talking about here, what Philly did in the offseason, compared to what New England did for 20 years when Brady was up in New England. Name me a Hall of Fame football player that they won a Super Bowl with that, again, at the end of the day here, when you're talking about what they accomplished on that great New England team, name me one Hall of Fame player in that huddle, okay, outside of Brady, okay, and Gronk for 20 years. 20 years. Gronk and Brady are the only Hall of Famers offensively for 20 years. And where am I going with that? Because they had role players. They had situational role players in New England with the greatest quarterback and a hell of a tight end. They didn't win a championship. So before you guys don't listen to what I said, at the end of the day, they didn't win a championship with Randy Moss. And Mike, I said offensively, they were winning with people like Julian Edelman and Amendola and Welker and Chris Hogan and players of that ilk, or guys who were cast-offs. These guys were able to put together role players. Everyone knew and identified what their responsibility was when they were in New England. That roster in Indianapolis, in my opinion, was better than New England during the entire Brady time. How do you have Marvin Harrison? How do you have Reggie Wayne? How do you have Edgerrin James? And how do you have Marshall Faulk on your offense and you win only one Super Bowl? Think of that. It was one of the most underachieving teams in recent NFL history. I think Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy underachieved in Indianapolis. Hell, the resume of Ben Roethlisberger is better than what they did in Indianapolis. Ben's got more postseason wins when he was with the Steelers on one team than Manning did when he was in Indianapolis. Every time they ran into the Patriots, they got beat. Those guys were able to put role players in positions to win. They cheated. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right, Philly. They cheated. I'm really sure after the deflated footballs, and then they come back and win a Super Bowl, after they taped the guys at practice, they came back and won another Super Bowl. It never mattered. It never mattered. It's like the Russia hoax. It was unbelievable. That never mattered in New England. It was Brady at the end of the day. Okay? They had the Hall of Famers at the key positions. Where on offense? Where? Tight end and quarterback? What about your O-line? What about your running game? There's no Hall of Famers on that team. There's not one. You're not going to have one Hall of Famer off that O-line. You're not going to have any running back in Patriots history go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You're not. And Moss, when he was there. Anyway, so let me get back here again. Guys, I want to see tonight against the Jets tonight. I want to see situationally how this coaching staff is going to put these players in position to win. That's what I want to see tonight. Yet people are still questioning Brady's commitment to winning. It's laughable. Mike, I think that guy's built up enough equity. Big pick in Indy did underachieve. One Super Bowl? Sorry, but that team should have won multiple. They should have won multiple. If you listen to Playmaker about the dynasty, he said the team, not Hurts. It takes a team to be a dynasty, but Hurts will be the leader. Like I said earlier, I thought that I heard one of the analysts that Sports Take had on earlier today. The difference in the difference in 2022, Jalen Hurts has got to carry the Eagles to the playoffs, not get carried. I think that's the theme this year. He can't be carried to the playoffs. Okay? He was carried to the playoffs. He didn't lead that team to the playoffs. That O-line led that team, knocking people off the ball. They took the ball out of his hands in the second half of the year. They couldn't throw it. They were 27th. They were unbalanced. That's got to change this year. That's got to be a theme. If you want to beat Green Bay, if you want to beat the Rams, if you want to beat the Bucs, you can't go into a game like you did a couple months ago in January and get the doorknobs knocked off you because you're not versatile enough. You can't. You got to win. Like Mike Vrabel last night, pulling that kid Willis out. Kid, I know you can run. You got to show us you can win games throwing the ball. Can you imagine how great a coaching that is for that young player? He wanted that player last night to be out of his comfort zone. Jalen Hurts' comfort zone is running. It's not throwing. That's got to change. Jalen's got to feel comfortable winning games throwing the ball. He's got to feel, and it's got to start tonight. I don't want to see Jalen Hurts running. If I was, get this, if I was Nick Sirianni tonight, I'd be like this. I don't want to see you take off running at all. One, I don't want you to get hurt. Second, we already know it. Let's work on the fundamental things tonight that we have to do to win ball games like the Packers, the Cowboy games. You're not going to win any championship until, hey, Nick Foles threw that team to a championship. He beat Brady. It wasn't running. You're not beating Brady running. You're beating Brady the way Foles beat him. And until Jalen Hurts shows us he can do what Nick Foles did in that Super Bowl, and even in other games, you're not beating Brady. A one-dimensional player's not beating Brady. And again, GT, I want to see them working on things tonight that are going to expand the offense. Okay? Gaming says, I hear you, Sills, but week one, let the man play his game. Run him off the field, the Lions, because you don't think Jared Goff can throw that team to success? Gaming. That's a philosophical, situational play calling mentality going into that Lions game. I'm all right with that. Run him off the field. Point of attack. If it's 38 carries, so be it. Remember what I said to you. I've taken all those statistics away from what I want Jalen Hurts to do this year. I don't give a shit about 4,200 yards. I don't care about 33 touchdowns. I care about beating Dallas, Minnesota, Green Bay, the Titans, Washington, teams like that. Titans. Make plays in those games that matter. Okay? Don't let Ernest. Ernest, why would I want Jalen Hurts to run the ball tonight when I already know he's effective at that? Eagles 13-4 this year, but lose week 1 to Detroit. Wow. I think Detroit's going to be a tougher game, but I still think they're the better roster. I want to see the linebackers and safeties and the defensive line. I want to see the kid play. Hey, let me get to some of these guys here too. Let me get to some of the other players that I'm looking at here for tonight. We've already talked a little bit about Cam Jurgens. I want to see him snap the ball tonight. And I personally think that's one of the reasons that Jalen's going to play 1 or 2 series tonight, because they got to get that center quarterback exchange tonight. Watch what the Jets are going to do too. I guarantee you they line a nose up, head up on him, and they're going to test that to see if Jurgens can get that ball up and block effectively. And make sure you watch and see if Jurgens can get up on the second level after snapping the ball. That's going to be a fundamental thing to watch inside. It might be a little too geeky for you guys, but if he's going to play game 1 against the Lions, you'll know if there's going to be a problem in the offensive line in week 1 if Cam Jurgens can't get up on that second line and he struggles getting that ball back to that quarterback. You know, I was telling Xander, don't be shocked if you see a fumble tonight with Cam Jurgens in the quarterback center exchange, because the Jets are going to test that tonight, as is every other team. The Lions will probably test that in week 1 too, if Jurgens plays. Hell, even if Jason Kelce plays, with the limited practice time that he's going to have and the limited conditioning he's going to have going into that game, I think the Lions are going to put a big body on him, even so in week 1. So let's see how that works out tonight. I want to see Jordan Davis tonight. I want to see. Do you know how effective he can be without making tackles? If you're clogging the middle of that line and you're that size, and you got him and Fletcher Cox inside like that, and you got those two players inside, there is no space to run. That means everything gets bounced outside. So what's important? The defensive ends and outside linebacker setting the edge. Don't let Zach Wilson or don't let any of those quarterbacks break down containment. So that's going to be interesting to see and how they rotate him. I think he's going to get some playing time tonight. I want to see how he's going to be in a position where he's going to be used in this rotation. I want to see how Jonathan Gannon uses him, because, again, one of the things that I have a problem with Jonathan Gannon, by the way, Jonathan Gannon is my number one bullseye. It's not Jalen Hurts. My number one bullseye, how is Gannon going to take all of this personnel? How is this guy going to take all of this personnel and utilize it in group settings? 3rd and long, 43, 34, 46, 52. How are you going to play these guys? Who's going to be the situational pass rushers? Are you going to have your nickel package in? Are you going to blitz? This is all the things that, again, like I said, philosophically, I want to see tonight. And when it comes to Jordan Davis, I want to see how they're going to rotate him. Are they going to keep him only in on 1st and 2nd down, or are they going to put him in a 3 technique and let him rush the passer as well? You got a kid that runs a 4.78 at 334. I want to see this guy's ability get put to the use here. Let's see him start to live up to some of that tremendous talent that he has. I never thought he lived up to his tremendous talent at Georgia. You don't have 43 games and 9 sacks. That's not productive. That's not a productive defensive tackle. To his side of the argument, a lot of dudes on that Georgia defense that were spectacular players. Walker, Wyatt, Dean, the safety. There are a lot of guys on that Georgia team that were spectacular football players. They won a national title last year. So, I mean, there were some really fine ball players on that defense. So I want to see how he plays. Now, obviously, too, we want to see Jalen Reagor tonight. I say this is the most important game in Jalen Reagor's career as an Eagle. If this guy goes out there and he is a non-factor and you don't see him, he puts up nothing, and he's a non-issue, his days are numbered. He will not be a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, he's got to have a splash play to save his career in Philly, in my opinion. I think he's got to have a splash plays. You've got to come away from this game tonight going, hey, man, guy played pretty well. And you know what you're doing? You're just trying to get back some face. You're just trying to get back to even because you're so below the Mendoza line right now when it comes to what people think of you in the organization, what people think around the league about you. Because let me tell you this. If Howie Roseman could have dealt him and got a decent draft choice for him, he would have dealt him by now. Nobody wants him. This is the biggest game in Jalen Reagor's career. And by the way, so you guys know, I don't believe that he deserves to be on the team, but please make me do this come Monday. Man, good for him. Good for him. You see, I know some of you think I root against kids. I don't. I want to say this about you, Jalen Reagor. Hey, man, way to show up. Good for you. Because if that happens, it helps the unit. It helps the group. It helps the team. It helps everybody. When you go like this to a guy, hey, man, way to go. Hey, great game, man. I want to give the kid a slap on the back instead of a kick in the pants. Nobody wants to do that. It's wasted effort in coaching. Don't let me waste my coaching on you and you don't show up. It sounds like more of a motivational speech for Jalen Reagor tonight, but kid, just show up, man. Just do something. 1 catch, 2 catches. Make them go, okay. Hey, he was right there. Adam says Rager needs a change of scenery. Hey, see what Adam said? That's probably the thinking inside the Philadelphia Eagle organization. If Rager shows up, my good. Hey, GT, watch this. Is it likely? No. Because he's not shown anything since he's been an Eagle. He doesn't even want to play special teams. I don't think his heart's in it. Let's move on here. Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens. How about Nakobe Dean? I think the one issue that I have with Nakobe Dean is that the game is a little bit too fast for him right now, and that's why you're not seeing him run with the ones a lot. He's not beating TJ Edwards out this year. That's not happening. I think he's going to have to play Will linebacker if he wants to be on this team. I do not believe he's beating TJ Edwards out. I think TJ Edwards has solidified his position as a Philadelphia Eagle. And I think he has changed since they put him in last year. This guy's filling gaps. This guy has scraped lanes. This guy has changed that linebacking core around to where it was considered one of the worst units in the NFC East, to where you're doing this now. What an uptake. What an upgrade that you have right now with all these players that you have at that position and in that grouping. I think TJ Edwards has been another one of those guys that, because you drafted Nakobe Dean, it's lit a fire under him even more. He's not surrendering that job. Man, is that a great thing? Creating competition, having all of that, there is no doubt about it, man. That's exactly what you want to have in your defensive huddle and in your defensive meetings. You don't want anybody surrendering just because he's a high draft choice. Remember something in the NFL. Most of the time with good teams, it's not where you're drafted. Unfortunately, sometimes that plays a factor in Philly because the GM has so much of a say that the first rounders get more of a lifeline than what other players do. That doesn't work in New England. If you're drafted in the first round or you're a free agent, best guy plays. That's not necessarily the case in Philly all the time. Okay? That's not necessarily the case. So Dean's got to have – I want to see him show us he can play both the run and the pass. I want to see him in-game situations where he's got to make plays out there, and he's got to also do one of the most important things. He's got to make calls. Yeah, that's right. Nakobe Dean hasn't stood out at all in this camp. He has not stood out at all in this camp. Dan, if we trade Edwards and Dean for Parsons, would you do it? Dude, no, the Dallas Cowboys' best part of their football team is Micah Parsons. They're not getting rid of that guy. And they're not going to trade a guy like that inside a division. Ernest says defense, hard to watch on because Jonathan Gannon trying to be difficult. How are you going to get a defensive calls in unproven scheme, needs great players to run? I don't know what that means, man. The Georgia Bulldogs had 15 players drafted this year. I mean, hey, that defense, man, pretty much almost every guy on that side of the ball too, right? I agree with you, Stubbs. TJ's a thumper, man, and he's changed the idea of that entire football team. Adams says that Parsons is a once-a-decade player. You know what, Adams? This is what I would say about what Dan Quinn does with him. I don't want him dropping off on tight ends and running backs. What? Can you imagine dropping LT like that? Man, it was how – look, LT could do it because he was a freak and he was a game-changing football player. By the way, Micah Parsons, I'm going to say this again. You know how they talk about Aaron Donald, best defensive lineman? Watch this. Aaron Donald, there's no Reggie White. Sorry. Who would you take, Sells, Reggie White or Aaron Donald? That's a dumb question. Reggie White is the greatest defensive football player, defensive line-wise, in the history of the sport. And the second guy, you can line him up after him. But you're comparing people to Reggie White. You got a problem with that. There's an issue. Okay, there's a massive issue with that. Okay, there's a problem there. Okay, just like when you're talking about Michael Parsons and Lawrence Taylor, there's a problem there. It's not going to happen. Just not do it, okay? Reggie had it all, so did LT here. So I want to see Nakobe Dean because Dean, I think, has struggled a little bit in camp here. I'll tell you somebody that I'm excited about. Man, do I love this guy, Kaiser White. Boy, Kaiser White has just absolutely put on the Philadelphia Eagle jersey and fit into that system like no other player has fit into that system. And I say this to you, I think he's been the most impressive player in camp. Kaiser White has been the most impressive player in camp. He is everything. I talked to Tracy Rocker. Tracy's like, Dan, it's like this guy took our playbook and he is just absorbed it and he processes the information so fast. And let me tell you something, when you got TJ Edwards and you got this guy Kaiser White and these guys are communicating with the front seven and these guys are processing it, do you know how great that is when you can put your front seven and everybody in the defensive line in positions to be successful because they see the game? This is where Nakobe's struggling a little bit here. Guys, this kid is a player. You know, when they first got him from the Chargers, I went like this, man, you know, Kaiser White, I thought they struggled, man, stopping the run last year, the Chargers. Oh, you watch him play, and he's got that big group in front of him. This kid's going to be dude, I'm going to make a prediction. I think this guy might be a Pro Bowler. He might be Howie Roseman's best find since Darius Slay. Man, I really love him. I can't wait to watch him. I can't wait to watch him in this system. I think the Philadelphia Eagle defense has an uptick and has an upgrade, not because of Hassan Reddick so much, but because of this kid White. God, he looks good, man. He's a baller, dude. Totally. Edge goes, quit talking, Dan. You're going to have me believing we're winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't want my hopes so high. Hey, you know what? All that stuff that we talk about with projections and maybe this is what I'm seeing now. And this is what I want to see tonight. You know what's really cool? It's like having a bar and you got all the finest wine and all the finest liquor and you don't know what to drink because you like it all. That's what you have here with this group. And again, I'll say it one more time to you. I don't think they have a lot of superstar players, but I think they have like a Patriots roster. There's all these great role players. You know, here, let me make a comparison to you. The Chicago Bulls are the greatest team in sports history, in my opinion. I'm going to tell you why. And I know different sports. You had the greatest player in the history of the sport. You had maybe the greatest Robin of all time in Pippen. And the rest of them, Rodman knew to rebound. Or Horace Grant, Cartwright, Whittington, all them dudes all knew their roles. Steve Kerr knew his role. John Paxton knew his role. Everyone had a fundamental role on what they were doing. That's kind of what you're trying to get here with this football team. You're trying to create roles for everyone. Not everybody has to be a star. What's the line that they use in Alabama and in New England? Do your job. Do your job. Do your job. All right. My friends, don't forget our good friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. Know this. If you are hurt or injured on the job, one of the most important things that you could possibly do for your family is finding that law firm that will make sure that they get you the fair compensation that your family so needs. Past 30 years, Morgan & Morgan has collected over $13.5 billion for their clients. And for the people is not a slogan. This is who they are. With over 800 attorneys strong and offices in Philadelphia, New York, and in Florida, Morgan & Morgan, with the biggest firm in the country, looks at every case and goes, there's no such thing as a fender bender. They will not be intimidated. Call them at 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. The call is free. The consultation's free, and they're open 24/7, 7 days a week. And when you call Morgan & Morgan, do me a favor. Tell them Dan Sileo sent you.
When choosing a lawyer for your injury case, you may ask, does the size of the law firm matter? Well, of course it does. The insurance company, they're huge with unlimited resources. And whether your case is big or small, they're built to bully you out of the money you're owed. But here's the good news. We're big too, the biggest actually. And we're built to fight to make them pay for all that was taken from you. Size is our strength. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Welcome back, National Football Show with your boy Big Phil. Let me ask you something here. Please hit the like button too. Jets and Eagles tonight. Other NFL games too. We're going to get around the league a little bit too as we move on here. Am I talking too positive here today? Am I sounding too optimistic here a little bit here? Maybe I have been influenced by Mike Golick. By the way, what a week, huh? Dabo Sweeney, Mike Golick, Michael Irvin. I mean, we got Irvin to commit to doing once a week for us too during the football season. Am I sounding too optimistic here? I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on here, Xander. I know what it is. I got it. I know what it is. It's football. It's football, man. Right? It's football, right? Oh, by the way, just so you know that Big Sills comes through with what I promised some of my guests. Craig Carton had a great time today at Miami Hurricane Camp. Oh, he had such a great time. They took him around. They gave him a bunch of stuff. And he's like, Sills, man, this is great, man. I appreciate it very much. So if you watch any of Craig Carton's stuff coming on, he's going to have a whole shitload of Miami Hurricane gear. So Craig also talked sports at WIP for a couple of years too in Philadelphia. So Let's continue here for a little bit here, too. I think, I love talking about some of the players. And again, know this. Scoreboard doesn't matter. Okay? Scoreboard doesn't matter. But what you want to do is keep score of how people are being used and what type of system's being used and how they're going to move the chains here. Okay? Greg goes, Sills, what's wrong with optimism? Maybe it's just my pessimistic Italian part of me here a little bit, right? Easy money. Sills, Bucks defense said Hurts can't read. Didn't even play a safety over the top. See what Easy Money's trying to do? He's trying to lead me down the rabbit hole here a little bit. Let me get through, and of course we'll hit on Jalen and what we want to see with Jalen here. I've got a list of players. We talked about Cam Jurgens, Jordan Davis, Jalen Reagor, Nakobe Dean, Kaiser White. My next guy on my list is this. You ready? I want to see James Bradberry. Who is James Bradberry? Who is James Bradberry? Okay? Who is he? Is he the Pro Bowler? Or is he the guy that didn't really have that great a year last year? Who is he? Is he going to have a chip on his shoulder? Is he going to be the player that we think? I'm going to be interested because you know why? He's going to get a ton of attention this year. Slay's played as good a ball as anyone thought he'd ever play. Remember something. When you got that guy from Detroit, how many people thought that guy, when he got moved from Detroit to Philadelphia, went, man, that guy's a Pro Bowler? Nobody thought that about Darius Slay and how he was going to fit in. Well, he's fit in. And I'll tell you this, you can give Howie Roseman a lot of love for that. There's been a lot of bombs in Howie's tenor, but I'll tell you what, Jason Kelsey and his free agent signing here, let's see what happens with AJ, what kind of impact he has. Let's not be Alshon Jeffries. You never know. You never know what a new zip code does for a player. I think one of the things that helps out James Bradberry, he's not changing any divisional zip code here. He knows the Giants. He's played against all those players in New York. He knows the Cowboys. He's game planned against them. He knows everyone in Washington. Nothing is going to surprise him divisionally. Nothing. They pretty much play the same schedule that the Eagles play because they're in the NFC East, right? So there's going to be a familiarity to him. I think that's an advantage for him. That kid's probably going to play as good a football as he's ever played in his career. And how about this? That guy is going to be a major point on how that defense plays this year. There's some centerpieces that you have to have on your football team. What are the big money pieces you're talking about when it comes to playing defense? Pass rusher, corner. Look at what the Rams have. Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. Darius Slay, and you have your hope in Hassan Reddick, right? There's more certainty in Los Angeles. There's not so much certainty in LA. That's the only difference. The difference between Los Angeles, the Rams, and the Eagles, there's certainty there. There's not certainty in Philly. You're hoping he gets back to his Pro Bowl form of 2 years ago in New York with the Giants. You're hoping Hassan Reddick has another double-digit sack season. That's got to be some NFL record, too, if he does it. 13 in 3 years where you have double digits. I don't know if I've ever heard of a guy going to two teams. Maybe Reggie did it. Reggie probably did it. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of chip Bradberry has on his shoulder tonight. Sweat needs 10 sacks this year. Man, is he another impressive guy in camp? Okay. We just mentioned him, too. My next guy on my list. Hassan Reddick. Here's my problem with Hassan Reddick. I think coordinators have struggled figuring how to play him. Follow me. Tell me if you disagree. If you disagree, tell me why. I say that the Cardinals, Carolina, and we have yet to see how Gannon's going to use them. You're 6'1", 246. Where do you play that? Who's 6'1", 246 in the NFL? TJ Watt? So do you play him like TJ? See, this is what I was thinking about this last night. If I was Jonathan Gannon, I would get as much game film as I possibly can on how the Steelers use TJ Watt, and I would come up with a defensive system on how I could keep that guy on the field for passing situations and as many times. I want Hassan Reddick to be on the field at least 75% of the plays per game. Okay? You put him on the field 75% of the time, I think you're getting your money's worth then. He's 6'1", 246. Hey, Ernest, it's not so much that he's not fast, he's not athletic. But I'm going to show you guys something, okay? When you're in the NFL, I'm going to do this to you here. This is what 17 weeks is. Watch this. You know what I'm doing? I'm hitting a nail. Every game. I'm hitting a nail. Play after play, practice after practice. Eventually, the head of the nail falls off, and you've worn it out. It's not so much that he's not a great player. The pounding. He's not making a 17-game season getting pounded on like that. He'll be useless by the end of the season. Ask Chip Kelly. Okay? War of attrition, Yale. Okay? Brandon, always can count on you to go there. Right? Okay? Keep this kid in a position. Like, this is one thing I saw with Dan Quinn last year with Micah Parsons. Bro, do you know how teams started going after LT? They realized they couldn't run away from him, so they started running at him. And some would say, well, he could play the run. Yeah, but you're hoping in that second Washington or that second Dallas game that you in the season had worn him out enough. By the time you got to him in the later part of the year, he was worn out. That's how teams started going against Taylor. Then they got Banks on the other side, and they had a double hit team there with that because Banks then upped his game. They had Carson in the middle. Do you expect Jordan Davis to start week 1? Pat says, absolutely not. I think they'll use – hey, here's why, Pat. So, Pat, you got one defensive tackle making $12.9 million. You got the other one making $14.4. You got $30 million lined up in 2 DTs, and you're going to pay the rookie guy? I don't think so. That's not how that works. This guy does like Eagles, just a hot topic. He has no Eagle gear, nothing, just ranting. I never said I was an Eagle fan. I said I love the fans. And plus, no, sorry, dude. I don't have any fandom stuff behind me. It's all stuff I've worn in football games. I'm not a fan. That's stuff I've won. Jimmy Johnson handed all those footballs to me for player of the game. That jersey was handed to me by Leroy Selman. That's my Bucks helmet. I don't have fandom stuff behind me. Fandom. Nothing wrong with it. But you'll never see Sills wearing any other gear because it's not what I do. It's Miami, Bucks. Okay? I love the fans. I've fallen in love with the Eagle fans, bro. I'm getting there with the Eagles. I'm giving you my honest assessment of your team. Unlike the rest of your people in your market, I'm not a cheerleader. That's why sometimes you guys call me a hater. Well, you can call me a hater all you want. I'm giving you my professional opinion. Seth goes, newbie Sills. Yeah. Put it up then, just ranting, bro. It's all, hey, Purnell, one thing you'll learn about me, okay, Purnell, wait a minute. I can be a tad bit sensitive. maybe a little bit, right, Xander? Maybe a little bit. Maybe hey, Purnell, maybe a little bit, okay? Thank you for coming aboard, dude. Appreciate you checking us out today. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to tonight, too. I can't wait to see it. Hey, Dion, you know what, though? I'll tell you what I do like about that Eagle team. I do like that old line, man. Knocking the shit out of people. I respect it a ton. Dude, when you play, I'll give you guys. I played against Mike Munchak and Bruce Matthews when they were all on the Oilers. Hoss, these two freaking horses come rolling at you. You're like, holy cow, 2 Hall of Fame old linemen. Dude, when you get Hall of Fame old linemen rolling at you like that, you start doing this. Okay, this is going to be a big night. You're going to have to, like, you know what I'm saying? Then look at John. John, wait a minute, John. What are you talking about? I've been talking all positive about your team. I haven't said one negative thing about your team tonight. I'm telling you the guys I'm looking forward to. I haven't said one thing here, brother. Hey, look at what this guy, John Bavino, just did. Lots of people have made a lot of money pissing off Eagle fans. This guy's good at it. You got a vowel in your name. How dare you, John? John, how dare you? With a vowel in his name, attacking another Italian with an O in his name to boot? Man. Dang. It's okay, John. You must be calibrated like a Northern Italian. You're more like a Frenchman. It's all right, dog. You can't be a Southern Italian, so it's all right. Seth goes game day, all looking forward to the game. Sills has been doing fine. Hey, thank you. Good? Seth, today good? All right. Yes, he is. Thank you, Purnell. Hey, I said you was good. Oh my God, you guys. Seriously, wait a minute. I'm not gonna lie. I like you guys more than the Eagles. Okay, I love your fan base more than the Eagles. I'm sorry, I gotta be honest. You're more entertaining. Remember your bet, Sills. What bet is that? KL, thank you, brother. Please hit the like button. You guys are too much, man. Let me get to my next guy here. Now, we've been going over Cam Jurgens I started with. By the way, I will get to your boy Jalen Hurts tonight. Okay? More than the Eagles. Stop it, Sills. Who's got the best fan base, says Jax. Whew. Boy, man, that Patriot. Hey, I talk sports in Boston. They're awful good, too. They're awful good, too, man. They are. They're pretty. I think it's Boston, and I think it's Philly. I think it's Boston and Philly, man. I think you two guys have the best fan bases, man. It's like, hey, loyal to the soil kind of shit with those two places, because New York, you know, you guys are on the outskirts of New York. You're kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, hey, New York, yeah, Cowboys. Gaming goes, Sills is not going to remember. Hey, Gaming, don't you know this? Wait a minute, Gaming. What's today? Is it Wednesday? Wait a minute. Is it Wednesday? Oh, yeah, CTE. I never said that, GT. I never said that. What are you talking about? Sills, if Hurts balls out, get the ship Xander was going to have us. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, you guys, I will do that. If he balls out, we will invite some of you guys on the show to talk shit to me. And it'll be what we'll call that day like the eating crow day for Sileo. Kansas City's got great fans too. Q, you're right. KC's got it great. Look at Mike. Stop with Boston. Not even close. Oh, here's Joseph. How could we get through a day without Joseph? Eagles have the best fans. Hey, I don't remember. Let me get going here. All right. Next guy. Brian, thank you for coming aboard, man. Okay. Jonathan Gannon. Let me take my glasses off for this guy. This guy, I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to put it here. If Jonathan Gannon F's this thing up, man, I want this guy replaced midseason. I want him replaced if he's not doing, if he can't figure the puzzle out. This is a puzzle. This is a puzzle. I don't think he can figure it out. I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's weak. I think that guy was with that mentality last year. You guys all want to go like this. Well, it was the personnel. So you're blaming the players for a soft approach? No way. Sorry, I'm a player. No way. I'm not putting that on the guys. I'm putting that on him. You made me soft. You put me in positions I couldn't win. I hate when people say that. Gannon just didn't have the players. Really? How do you know that? Soft-ass zones, people coming in and destroying the secondary with those completion percentages. You're going to put that on the players? Come on, man. I wonder what Howie thinks of that. That's his roster. Oh, okay, so it's the players and it's our evaluation versus the coaching? Jonathan Gannon is a preschooler when it comes to NFL experience as a coordinator. Jonathan Gannon and Nick Sirianni, these guys were in kindergarten last year. First-year head coach, first-year coordinator, that's kindergarten. So you're going to tell me, well, you know, it was the players, and you're going to really buy into that. Okay? Hey, Brandon, you made me soft. I think I've used that comment a few times, too, outside of football. Thank you. Good night. Monday through Friday, try the veal. Hey, try the veal. All right, I got to take a time out here, man. Okay? I got one more guy that I'm going to be looking forward to, and then guess what we're going to do at the top of the hour? Jalen Hurts, what I want to see from him. Getting closer to kickoff. I cannot wait. Jets and Eagles, only home game at Lincoln Financial. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button and keep it right here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back. National Football Show. Your boy Ben Stills. Please hit the like button. Man, are we going to have a ton of stuff to hit on Monday. And by the way, if you want to follow me over on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show, I'll be watching the game. I have access to all the games tonight, so I'll be watching the game as well. And I'm going to end with one more guy here. Then we're going to get into Jalen. That'll be at the top of the hour. But I want to throw something at you here. Before we get into my last guy, Steichen, by the way, how about what the Ravens have done? And it means nothing. The Ravens last night, with their 23-10 victory over the Titans, won their 21st consecutive preseason football game. And you know what everyone says? It doesn't mean anything. That means nothing. It has no bearing on the one-loss column. It doesn't matter statistically with any of the stats. It doesn't matter anyway at all. Doesn't matter. You know what I love about it? Okay, you know what I love about it? They win when it doesn't matter. And they win when it matters. It's about building a culture. It's about every time you step on a field, you have a sense of urgency to do your very best at all times. You're playing hard all the time. You have a winning mentality. That's why that Ravens team and that Ravens organization, from the top down, from Steve Biscotti to Ozzie to DeCosta to everyone, it's about winning when no one's looking. Champions are made in the dark when no one's watching. No spotlights are on you. That's when a champion's made. When you're out there in the cold, raining, no one's watching, no headlines, no cheerleaders. That's champions. There's a champion's mentality in Baltimore. Every organization strives for that. Every business strives for that. And instead of having the car salesman get to his quota and go home and drink his beers, that's not what they do in Baltimore. Doesn't matter. I love it. There's a reason there's success in Baltimore. It's a winning attitude. It's a champion's attitude. You got to put the work in, man. Willis, again, I saw the kid. I love the coaching that Vrabel had last night. Vrabel, you know what? Nick Sirianni would never have the onions to do this. I don't want to see Jalen running either tonight. I'll get to that. But with Willis getting pulled, he looks the kid in the face and goes, we know you can do this. We don't know if you can win throwing the ball. This is the exhibition season, son. There were 3 dudes open. You imagine if they did that to Jalen Hurts at all last year? That's good coaching. They'd never have the onions to do it because you know why? You had kindergarten and preschool coaches last year that wouldn't have the onions to do it. I know Sirianni gets in his face and does it. It's a different approach in how you go about your business. There's more equity in that locker room in Tennessee because Vrabel is that guy. Mike Vrabel pulls that kid out and goes, I know you can run. We had 3 dudes open. You got to show me you can hit them guys. He wasn't in. Wait a minute. I guarantee you Mike Vrabel's not impressed with Jalen Hurts. He wouldn't be impressed with Hurts. No way would he be impressed. Okay? He don't care about 800 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. He cares that a guy like Ryan Tannehill carried his football team when Derrick Henry went down and when A.J. Brown was out for a couple games and they were the top seed in the AFC. That's all he cares about is winning. Tough love, Q. Tough love. It's okay. But Q, can I tell you something, Q? Q, the reason that Mike Vrabel can do those things, because he's probably had personal conversations with him, and the kid's not going to take it offensively. The kid's probably going to take it as constructive criticism, not destructive. What you don't want and what you hate is when coaches just scream at you for all types of dumb shit. Players tune that out fast. They just stop listening because you're not coming from a place of constructive. I've told some of you the story years ago about when I covered the Tampa Bay Rays and Joe Madden. I go, how'd you get Cliff Floyd and all them dudes, man, to play their asses off the way that they do for you? How do you do that? And he goes, man, for me to be a constructive manager or a type of coach for these guys and these men, I've got to have personal relationships with every single guy in that locker room. And I have to let them know that this is coming from a place of love and that I want to see you succeed. How many times that you see coaches or you see managers like Joe Girardi not giving a shit really about the players and just hollering and talking shit and not taking time to know what pushes the button of that one particular player, coach, whomever. That's extra coaching. That's extra. And that goes far when you do that stuff. The one thing players don't mind being coached hard. You know what they mind more? Being lied to or bullshitted. Think about the people that are around in your life. Hell, you should see the broadcasting business. 98.9% of the people in broadcasting are full of shit. Okay? And I'm not talking about the people I work with. I'm talking about people that are like in management and shit like that. It's different here at JAKIB because you know why? We're a boutique. Can't hide under your desk here. Some of these big-time broadcasting companies, you can hide under your desk for 5 years. Can't. You got to pull your weight. And you're counted on daily to pull your weight. That's a mentality that you want to build inside your organization. That's what you want to have in your locker room. Can't hide in your locker in your cubicle. You got to go to work, dude. Go to work. Do your job. See, tough love, isn't that funny? Tough love is truth. All these years, I've learned that now that tough love and controversial, all the shit people put a tag on me on is truth. I'm not a good liar. I'm terrible at it. I'm not a good manipulator. I think that comes from me being raised in locker rooms. It's funny, man. My entire time since I was 10 years old until I was 35 years old, I was in a locker room. Professional locker room, collegiate locker room, high school locker room. All them years. You know the one place I had clarity was in them locker rooms. You suck. You're good. Great game. Horrible game. There's no middle ground there. Hell, I was raised like that by my grandpa. Gary, people can't handle the truth, but you know what happens? When you're constantly fudging the truth, there's no clarity on what your job description is. This guy Steichen, personally, I think he's the coaching candidate for an NFL job more than I think Jonathan Gannon is. I have no idea how Jonathan Gannon got that Houston Texans interview. What, because he's good looking? He says all the right things? He interviews well? Shit, that's not a coach. That's a PR rep. Jonathan Gannon's the kind of coach that you love looking at, listening to, but when he actually has to put a game plan together, you're like, I don't think so, guy. And it's soft. Can you imagine this? Let's do this. Jonathan Gannon versus Jim Schwartz, Jim Johnson, and Buddy Ryan. What name doesn't fit? What name doesn't fit? You got that guy's approach in Philly after Schwartz, Jim Johnson, and Buddy Ryan. I'm not seeing it. How in the world could you hire a defensive coordinator that believes in playing defense like a rubber band? Bend, but don't break. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Do you like the Eagles coaching staff gave all players 2 to 3 things to work on over the offseason? Is this typical for professional players? Yeah, you have individual coaching meetings with your guys. They give you certain things to work on. Yeah. Yeah. He's new school? What, not being tough? He must have a great agent. Willis applied for the Eagles towel boy, just in case it doesn't work out. Hey, I'll tell you what, man, that Tyler Huntley guy, man, I love that kid. I do. I love that guy. That guy plays every freaking snap like he wants to win a Lombardi trophy. Man, do I like that kid. I really do, man. I enjoy watching him. What's his name, Snoopy? Or Snoop, man? Dude, that guy can ball, man. He puts a smile to my face every time I watch him play, man. Man, I dig it. By the way, some NFL news, some young quarterbacks that have to show up in 2022. Little more on Steichen, and here it comes. Hour number 3. Get this. What I want to see from Jalen Hurts tonight. Okay? What I want to see from Jalen Hurts tonight. Getting closer to game time. Jets and Eagles. NFL news. Got a ton of stuff here, man. By the way, don't forget, Mike Gullick was on with us earlier. That'll be posted for you on JAKIB Sports, getting you ready for tonight's game. Hour 3. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back. National Football Show. It's your boy, Big Sills. I had a great conversation earlier. Please hit the like button as we're getting closer and closer to the first exhibition game of the year for the Eagles versus the Jets. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things going on around the National Football League this year and what to expect. How about this? 2 notes here before we move on here a little bit. I had a great conversation today with Ken Zampese. He is the quarterback coach in Washington. And what I'm hearing is that when Ron Rivera came out the other day, you're talking about tough love. Ron went public and said that we're having some accuracy issues here with Wentz. And I asked Ken Zampese to give a clarification on that. He goes, you know what we're doing? We're asking him to do things that make him uncomfortable. What they're doing is they're putting pressure on him in camp because he struggles with pressure. That's coaching. Okay? That's coaching. I'm going to get to Jalen Hurts here in a minute. You think Jalen Hurts is being coached well in Philly? Do you? You had 2 prime examples of being coached hard. One was last night with Willis, the quarterback in Tennessee, where you had the reigning NFL Coach of the Year pull the kid out and go, I don't care about your running ability. We already know this. You have to show us you can win ball games throwing the ball. That's coaching. What they're doing in Washington right now, they're trying to, I guess like a horse, break Carson Wentz of horrible habits that he has. We all know him. Holding on to the ball, not throwing the ball away, bonehead plays and moments that ruin a great year. He had a great year last year. Wentz had a great year. 3,700 yards throwing, 94 quarterback rating, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks, 9-8 season. Wasn't like he sucked. But boy, I'll tell you, the Jags game and 8 minutes in the Titans game destroyed every single stat I just mentioned. Destroyed all of that work because of the Jags game and 8 minutes against the Titans. Can't have that. Can't have that. That's why Wentz, again, they're trying to break him of bad habits. You know what? Isn't it funny? Trying to create great habits, I think, is a lot easier than breaking bad ones. Because you always resort. Look at what Willis did last night. He struggled throwing the ball. Or how about this? Seeing reads. Willis struggled seeing reads last night. Something Jalen struggles with still. And you had a coach pull him out. Hey, it's not going to cut it. 3 guys were open. Yeah, but I got a first down. So what? In a game that matters, you won't. That's not what that position is about. Jalen Hurts has to make more plays this coming season with his arm than his legs for him to be considered a $40 million a year guy. That's why I still don't consider him that. He makes more plays with his legs. That's not an NFL quarterback. So tonight, what I want to see, I don't want to see him run one time tonight. I want to see Jalen Hurts go through reads. And by the way, it is still a topic. Get this, his processing of going through his progressions, I don't think has gotten any better. Is he more comfortable at the quarterback position? Yes. Is he more comfortable in the system? Yes. That still doesn't mean that you can read a defense. He's not doing it in practice when you know you're not getting hit. So tonight, what I want to see some progression reading. I'd rather have this tonight. Watch this. Watch this. I'd rather have this. I'd rather have him go 5 for 11 tonight. Him make plays on third down with those 5 completions than having him take off and get first downs. And he's 5 of 11 for 115 yards. And people come away from it going like this. Well, look at the way he moved the chain. I don't care about that stuff on the ground. Because then you're still last year's offense. One-dimensional. You've got to show tonight that you're getting better at finding the guys that are open. And that's also in the hands of the coaches. The coaches have to help them. Throw to screen passes. Throw to your backs. Get a couple completions going. So what if it's 1-2-3 kick? So what if you don't have long drives? Just show me they're not open. Go to your back. Get positive yardage. Watch this. If he hits 7 running backs tonight, and he's 7-8, and they're all hits to the running back, great. Something they didn't do last year. Top guy had 33 catches. That sucks in today's NFL. And it wasn't even your frontline guy, Sanders, with that. It was Gainwell. Dang, that's such a great take. Being mobile helps, but it's more about being functionally mobile. That's Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. That is exactly the definition of mobility in today's NFL. Clearly, that's it. Dang, great take. Great take. Razor, your security blanket like Wentz had with Ertz is Goddard. Keep that guy's number on speed dial. Okay? Look at Joseph. The dynasty begins, baby. The National Dynasty Show. Here we go, baby. Here we go. National Dynasty Show. Jason just said something that I'm going to get into here in a minute. There's a big difference between scrambling quarterbacks and running quarterbacks. I'll take a scrambler over a runner any day. Brian, there is a definition and there is a complete difference in that. No question. Mr. International, I'm looking out to see how accurate he is tonight. The coach on with Dan would be interesting. They're a little fundamentally thinking that I would ask a question that might be negative towards Jalen. It wouldn't be. So here's what I want to see tonight with Jalen Hurts. I wrote it down. I want to see him run the offense that we need. If it looks at all like last year's offense, then get better. Okay? Now, if you come out and you start running the ball right away and you're third and short and he's making plays on third down, that's a great sign. How many times last year did we see this Eagle team third and long, especially in the first half of the season, those first 7 games, third and long, third and long, third and long. You're not helping him third and long. The Eagle offense tonight has to win first and second down. And personally, I don't give a shit who the quarterback is. But when Jalen's in there, I want to win first and second down. Keep that thing in third and short. Your playbook is more open to third and short. When you're 3rd and 5+, there's an 18% chance you're going to complete third down. Do you know that? You're playing the law of averages here. 3rd and 2, there's a 78% chance you're going to get the first down. 3rd and 9, there's like an 8% chance you're getting the third down, especially with a quarterback like that. Now, the odds obviously go up when you got a more experienced signal caller, which the Eagles don't. Okay? Which they don't. Not yet. I'm interested in seeing Kayvon. I'm interested in seeing him too. I want to see him run this offense tonight. Okay? I do. I want to see if he got any better. What that's going to look like, I have no idea. Okay? I have no idea. No idea. All right. I want to do this now. Where's that list? Here we go. By the way, you tell me if you think a particular quarterback deserves to be on this list or not. You know what this list is? You're either going to be a star or you're going to be considered a project. These guys and these young quarterbacks are people I want to see in 2022 that, in my opinion, the jury's out on them. These are the guys. I got 8 guys here. Justin Fields, Chicago. Chicago has destroyed every prospect that they have brought into Chicago at the quarterback position since I can remember, even playing against them when we were in the NFC Central Division. They had Jim McMahon and Mike Tomczak back then. At least they were functional and they won ball games. But since that era, Rex Grossman, I get it. There's been some off years. The quarterback position in Chicago has been an absolute train wreck. Every time that a quarterback gets drafted to Chicago, it turns out to be an unbelievably disgusting season and pick for that franchise. I said that Justin Fields would never turn out to be a quarterback that would be a star in this league. The Bears aren't helping him. I don't see it. I think he's another Cade McNown, something like that. There's never an Ohio State quarterback ever playing the National Football League that starred. Ever. Ever. Why would you draft an Ohio State quarterback? Now, this guy, CJ Stroud, next year may change that dynamic. I don't know. But they've never produced one. They have never produced a decent one. Brandon says, think about it, Sills. The best Bears quarterback was a half-blinded man. Think about this for a second, too. McMahon was the best quarterback that they've had up there, and Jim McMahon never played an entire 16-game regular season in his entire 17 years. Okay? He was never healthy, even when he was in Philly. You're going to see Zach Wilson tonight. I think Zach Wilson has arm talent. He can zing that thing. Okay? I think Joe Douglas, the former Eagle executive, I think they've done a nice job. But again, I think this kid's a little bit – how about this? I think he is more of a mature Baker Mayfield, but not by a lot. Joseph says, when I'm sober, this show is awesome, but most of the time I'm not, so Sil's show sucks. Yeah. Oh. Hey, Xander, look at this guy, Joseph. Do we not love him, man? This guy's the star of the show every day. Mr. International, I think this kid has a chance to be a decent. Look at the two different dynamics there. Mr. International, kid's a stud. Josh, he's trash. Easy Money says, Sills, you're going to be saying C.J. Stroud's name for the next 10 years. I know the MILF stuff. Thank you, Tanner. Wilson hasn't shown anything that should give anybody reason to have faith in him. Ugh, God, man. I hate to hear that, but you're correct. How many people think Trey Lance is going to have a good year this year? I think San Francisco's made a colossal mistake moving off a winner. You guys are talking to me about a winner in Jalen, and not so much about stats, and that's exactly what Jimmy Garoppolo is. You know? Xander says, I'd take Zach Wilson over Trey Lance. So would I. So would I. I think there's more arm talent with Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson's got, I think he can zip it. I do. I think he can zip it. He's got a pretty good arm talent, man. I don't think this guy, Trey Lance, I don't know where you would think he's, what has given you that notion, or give me one bit of intel where you're going like this. This kid's a baller. One game, one moment, anything where you went like this. This guy is great. And I'll go, oh, because I couldn't find it. I could not find it. Where in the world do you, hey, I'll take one example. North Dakota State? Well, shit, if we have any history about North Dakota State quarterbacks, people in Philly can tell you about that. Okay? I haven't seen it. Playing against the Little Sisters of the Poor in that division, or I don't even, are they Division I double? I don't even know what they are. The Bison. Does he play against any NFL competition like they do in the SEC? Dude, I'll take Zach Wilson 10 times. At least at BYU, they've produced a ton of quarterbacks that have gone on to the NFL. And there's a system up there. I don't get it. Trevor Lawrence. I can't wait to see what Doug Peterson does with this dude. I am a gigantic Trevor Lawrence fan. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to the Pro Bowl this year. I think he is going to turn his career around with Doug Peterson, and Doug Peterson and him are going to win a lot of ball games in Jacksonville. I do, man. I think Shade Khan wants a winner. He's the fourth richest owner in the NFL. I think Shade Khan wants a winner. I think he wants the team to stay in Jacksonville. It's a terrible culture. Doug's going to get a reality check. Hoss, that's Gator country. And really, if you want to know, it's probably Bulldog country too. Then it's Knowles, and then it's the Jags. It probably goes in that order. Gators, Bulldogs, Knowles, and Jags. You're fourth dude in the list there. You're the fourth dude in line. Yeah. You got to somehow, dude, when you're in Philly, Flyers, Phillies, Sixers are all behind the Eagles. You put those, watch this. If I'm in Philadelphia and I have an Eagle ticket, a Sixer ticket, a Philly ticket, and a Flyers ticket's on the table, people are reaching for them Eagle tickets, man. 9 out of 10 times. Not saying you don't respect and love those teams, but you're reaching for Eagle tickets. That's not the case in Jacksonville. You got Gator, Bulldog, Knowles, and Jag tickets. You're reaching for Gator tickets. Yeah. You're reaching for Gator tickets in that part of the woods. And believe me, it's woods. I mean, hey, Doug's going to go, man, it was Jacksonville, man. I thought it was a football. It is. It's a college football town. It's not a pro town. Mr. International, I think the 49ers win 7 games this year. Here we go. I think Jalen Hurts belongs on this list. I think he belongs on this list of let's see it. He's not a ready-made. He's not a made man. The Eagles treat him like a made man. Jalen Hurts is not a made man. You know who are made men in the NFL? Brady, Wilson, Rodgers, Stafford. Those guys are made men. Those are your capital capos. Those are your made guys. He ain't made yet. There's still a decision to be made if this guy's going to be your quarterback in 2023. How is this guy made? Jalen's got to show us. Hurts definitely belongs on the list. He has to prove that he's the guy. Right. It's not a slam, but this is a quarterback prove it list. Okay? Hey, and by the way, you know the one thing that I'm doing here that Jalen Hurts can say that he's already won? What is the one thing already that you notice that Jalen has already upped his game? Every guy and every quarterback that I have on this list is a first rounder. Jalen Hurts is not. He's the only non-first round quarterback on this list. So what does that tell you? He's elevated his game to get into the conversation where the heat on these first round quarterbacks and these young guys have a lot of heat on them to succeed. When Jalen Hurts first was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, there was no pressure on him. I said this to you. Would you guys say this? When Jalen Hurts was first drafted by the Eagles, he was a safety belt. Because of Wentz being injured, Jalen Hurts was not drafted by the Eagles to be the starting quarterback ever. He was drafted as a safety belt in case something catastrophic or lack of production from Wentz. How he hedged his bets. How many people bitched? Hey, how about this? Do you agree? How many people bitched about the second round pick being used on Wentz, on Jalen Hurts draft night? Flex says, we'll see how made Wilson. None of these guys are made. Flex, none of these guys are made. Not one of them. These are not made guys. There's not one guy on this list that's made. I'm not saying every one of these guys has to show me something here. Look at Dank. How many people bitched about the second round pick of Jalen Hurts on draft day? And try not lying. Smile goes, still bitching about Hurts. He stinks. Dank goes, Eagle fans were pissed Jalen second round. Based on rumors, Howie drafted him to replace Wentz. Oh, I don't buy that at all. I was one of those people. That's why I'm talking to you. Thank you, Brian. All right. This is a prove it list. I did because Street says, I did because we needed wide receiver help in the wide receiver core. Q goes, Hurts has the ceiling of Kirk Cousins. Bro, so you think Hurts is going to have a stretch of 9 years that he throws for 4,000 yards, 6 of those 9 years? You really believe that? I'll make this. How about this? I'll make a prediction to you. Jalen Hurts will never throw for 4,000 yards in his NFL career. But that doesn't mean he's not going to win. Okay? He will never throw for 4,000 yards. And again, I'm not sure Lamar Jackson will. Lamar may have in that MVP season. I thought it was 3,700 yards. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Yes, I do. If Lamar Jackson, who led the NFL in touchdown passes, doesn't throw for 4,000 yards, your boy's not with 16. Yeah, I'll put that out there. I don't think Hurts throws for 4,000 yards at all in any time of his career. Why? McNabb didn't. Aikman didn't. Montana didn't. Okay, I mean, don't get bent out of shape. It's not about stats. It's about wins. 2 hours easy, huh? Love it. Next guy's Tua. Guys, I'm going to tell you this, what I heard about Tua. Hey, Xander, you remember the guy, Armando Salguero? Guy who covers the Dolphins for The Athletic. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you what Armando's saying about Tua. This guy throws pop-ups down the field. Throws ducks. It's got a tail on it like a kite. I'll tell you something, man. You got too good a football team that you've put together. Dolphins may be in the market for a quarterback. If this guy, with all reports right now, man, he's struggling on getting – man, you got Jalen Waddle and you got Tyreek Hill and you got a quarterback that's got a noodle arm, you got a problem. You got a problem. You got a serious problem. Easy Money says – Tua throws a better deep ball than Hurts? No, I don't think so. I don't see it. That's not what I'm hearing. This guy's got like a kite tail on his football. Not at all, man. Hey, here, watch this. Here's the problem with Tua. He has no arm strength, but he's accurate. And Hurts has arm strength, and he's not accurate. That was the dilemma at Alabama. So Saban went with accuracy. That's why Hurts lost his job. It wasn't because that Tua had a better or stronger arm than him. He was more accurate. And so they went with the accurate guy at Alabama. That's the facts. That's how he lost his job. Streets goes, Hurts is about to prove all the haters wrong this year. Well, he'll have to. And again, Streets, he'll have to. But he belongs on this list. It's not a hater list. It's a prove it list. Mac Jones is on this list. Mac Jones won 10 games last year. Of all the young coaches, of all the young quarterbacks in the NFL, Mac Jones is probably being coached the hardest. Can you imagine having Bill Belichick as your head football coach and all the drills that you have to go through mentally like Brady went through and how he's preparing that kid? Man, it must be tough to be in that room. But see, the one thing that Bill Belichick must love about the kid Mac Jones, it's got to be his intestinal fortitude. I guarantee you he was coached tough at Alabama. So the kid was made for this job. People are down on Mac Jones. I'm not. So wait a minute. Let me get this right. His first year, he wins a national championship at Alabama. His coaches have been Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. And all the kid has done is won. And he put a team in the postseason. They fired Cam Newton for his ass. Of all the guys that are the young guys, who's getting the best coaching? The guy in New England. Watch this. Mac Jones is getting 10 times the coaching that Jalen Hurts is getting in Philly. You know he is. It's the best coaching staff, complete coaching staff, possibly in the NFL. Because let me say this to you, that roster they got this year, I don't know. I watched that game the other night against the Giants, and I went like this. Last night, I'll tell you, that might be one of Bill's worst rosters. I know there's a lot of backup guys playing, and maybe that was by design. Holy cow, man. It just looked bland. The final guy on my list is Daniel Jones. You know, I watched Daniel Jones last night. By the way, guys were dropping passes. I don't know what Brian Dable's going to do here, man. I didn't think he played all that bad, but watch this. When I see Daniel Jones quarterback in the New York Giants, there's just not an it factor there for me. You know? There's just not an it factor. So do you know what? With all these names, listen to these names. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones, and Daniel Jones. Jalen will have the best year of all these guys. He'll have the best year in the one-loss column. And that's all that matters. And that's what makes his evaluation so tough. Okay? GT, man, that kid last night, and they got a terrible old line to the Giants. Wide receivers, man, you know what? You know why they were dropping passes last night, in my opinion? I think they just have no confidence in the quarterback. Okay? Hey, by the way, I love what you just did, Smile. Before we take a time out here, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones. If you had to pick one of these quarterbacks to build your team around, who would you pick? Who would you pick? Fields, Wilson, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones, or Daniel Jones? Q says Justin Fields. GT, Trevor Lawrence. It's Trevor Lawrence for me, too. If I had all these guys here and I'm looking at this list here, I would say Trevor Lawrence. Lance? Is he a good thrower of the football? Jordan Love, yeah. You know what? He belongs on this list, but he's not a starter. Philly, he's not a starter. These guys are all starters. You know what I mean? He'll get his opportunity. He's not starting, though. I'll take Trevor and Hurts next. All right. Please hit the like button. Getting closer and closer to game time. I cannot wait. By the way, I'll be watching the game. If you want to hit me up over on my Twitter page, too, at Dan Sileo Show. I appreciate it. By the way, please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for coming aboard, getting closer and closer to game time here. I appreciate everybody stepping in with us here. I can't wait to see a lot of these players step on the field tonight. I can't wait to see how these coaches are going to use them as well. Before I get into that, we were just talking about Belichick. You think it ends poorly in New England for Bill? You think it ends poorly? Not winning as much? Look at how it's ending in Seattle. Look at what Pete Carroll is going into the 2022 season with. Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Is that how you want to end your NFL coaching career? It's with Geno Smith or Drew Lock as your quarterback. Why in the world, again, as a 70-year-old head coach, do you want to go out winning 3 games and the place was like you found it, in shambles? There's no Legion of Boom. There's no Russell Wilson. There's DK Metcalf. And then what? Future draft picks that sometimes don't pan out. And Pete Carroll is doing more harm to his opportunity to get to Canton these last 2 years than even before when he was the coach of the Jets in New England. He had a great run going on in Seattle. You know, some of these coaches stay too long. The money's great. The winning, it becomes habit. You know, you get set in your ways. You know, and then before you know it, you're looking around the room and you're finishing 500. Patriots haven't won a game in 3 years in the postseason, and you're going like this. So Belichick hasn't won a postseason game in 3 years. Carroll's in shambles, and these two guys are sitting atop the NFL totem pole when it came to being a head coach in the league. And now look at them. Because these guys are tenured and they're some of the longest tenured coaches in the league, look at what happens when you stay too long. You know, greatness in everyone, we all know this. You know, when you're a hero and you're a legend, sometimes those people end villains because you stayed too long. Look at Joe Paterno. Joe Paterno wanted that all-time wins record so bad that he compromised his entire integrity of his program and himself because his drive for that record was the only thing he could see. It's the same thing with these coaches. These coaches get blinded by their own success and their own resume sometimes. You don't have clarity on what you're looking around you as. That's why you're not going to see any of these old school coaches any longer. The Bill Parcellses, the Jimmy Johnsons, the Dan Reeves and all them kind of guys, you're not going to see them kind of coaches in the game anymore. You're going to see the Nick Sirianni kind of guys. You're going to see the Kevin Stefanski dudes. You're going to see the Sean McVays, the Cliff Kingsbury kind of guys that work with front offices, and the ego is not so much front and center when it comes to the head coach. Head coaches had Buddy Ryan and Mike Ditka and all them. Them guys are gone. You never see that ever again. You'll never see that. So John Gruden, he'll never coach again, even with the emails. You're never going to have guys like that again. It's my way or the highway. That's just the way it is. And you're like, man, organizations don't want to see that stuff any longer. They want front office working hand in hand. You know, the numbers and the analytics nowadays in the NFL, it's important to have analytics. And by the way, you know, when we had Rich McKay on a couple days ago, the chairman of the NFL competition committee, the NFL's doing things way differently than in my time. And again, I've got to stop sounding at times like, oh man, get off my lawn stuff. Philly goes, where are you watching the game? Big Sills has got a way of watching games, dog. How you doing? I know folks in high places. I got a nice way of watching the game. I'll be watching that. You bet your ass. I'm watching every second of that game. Bill Parcells said it himself. It's a young man's game now. It totally is, man. Especially how you're putting teams together. And the coaches like Doug Peterson that fight front offices, that's not going to cut it any longer. See, when Shea Khan hired Doug, Doug's got total autonomy almost. Well, there's kind of a safety wedge in there between Shea Khan and Doug with Trent Baalke, but Trent Baalke was just put in there to be like a doorstop in case something goes sideways. You know, Doug's reputation is going to carry down to Jacksonville too, because I guarantee you when Shea Khan called Jeffrey Lurie and talked to Howie Roseman, I can't think that was a ringing endorsement. Hey, watch this. If you're in a conversation with somebody and hey, Xander, I'm going to give you a Nick Saban. Yeah, but Nick Saban will always say this to you. You know, there'll be players that I have on my team, and there'll be guys that I give ringing endorsements to. But if I give a guy a yeah, but when I'm talking to an NFL team about one of my players, it's never good. Yeah, but this guy's this guy's physical, this guy's that, he's everything. Yeah, but Saban says it's never good. They don't want those kind of coaches today. Okay? And by the way, let me ask you this. A guy like Doug Peterson coaching this young team, you think Doug is not a fit for this team? Would Doug Peterson be a good fit for what they're doing now in Philly? Would he? Would he be a good fit for all the things that they're trying to do differently? What do you think the number one thing is they're trying to do differently in Philly? I think they're trying to get younger. I think Philly is constantly trying to get younger. And they're going to go after younger players as much as they possibly can. And that's drafting, and that's looking at players that are out there now in free agency or trades. How do you get an A.J. Brown at 25 years old? Are you out of your mind? You let a guy that's 25 years old, like A.J. Brown, out of your building? In years past, that guy would traditionally be 32. 25? Now you got to pay a king's ransom to get a 25-year-old stud. But dude, guys today, look at what you have at your wide receiver position. You got a 22-year or 23-year-old Devontae Smith and a 25-year-old. You know how you guys are talking about, watch this. And this is why I say the Eagles are building and going young. So wait a minute. You got a 25-year-old wide receiver in A.J. Brown. You got a 23-year-old wide receiver in Devontae Smith. And you got a 25-year-old left tackle in Jordan Mailata. That's pretty Hey, man, that's pretty damn good. You got 3 25-year-old future studs on your offensive team. Shit, man. Landon Dickerson is going to be a stud. Okay? Landon Dickerson, man. He's going to be a star. GT, bold prediction. Hurts throws 2 TDs tonight. That would be great. Hurts hitting that 4K with those weapons. Yeah. Well, Q, are you under the impression that A.J. Brown puts up gigantic numbers? Where would you get that from? Where did you get that? He puts up huge numbers. He's never had over 70 catches, I think. I don't think he's ever had over 70 catches. He's had a little bit over 1,000 yards in his 3 years in Tennessee. Are you under some impression he's a 1,400-yard, 100-catch guy? He ain't that. You're under some illusion that guy is a he's like Jamar Chase numbers, 104 catches and 1,500 yards. He's never done that. He is who he is. And it's not going to improve with a quarterback who we still have to see if learned how to read some defenses still. Street says that Smitty's going to be the benefactor. Well, let's see him get healthy first. Hurts ain't playing enough to get 2. Probably true. I think AJ will teeter at the 1,000-yard. I do too. I do. I think he'll be right there. Look, he's going to be around his average, 68 catches, 1,000 yards. Where, like I said, his big impact on the football team is going to be, watch this even tonight. I hope to see this. Can I tell you what I really also hope that I see tonight? I hope that I get the chance to see the Eagles in red zone offense. Because I'm going to tell you this, 20-yard going in, if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm throwing that ball in the end zone on jump ball 3 straight times. That guy's coming down with one of them. That guy, I think, is going to have between 10 and 14 touchdown catches. Somebody goes like this to me on my Twitter, Sileo, well, you're saying that he's not going to put up, how is he getting 14 touchdowns? Well, the majority of you think Kirk Cousins sucks. How in the world does Justin Jefferson have 3,000 yards and almost 200 catches in 2 years? Oh, yeah, with the sorry-ass quarterback in Minnesota. Okay. Ask Justin Jefferson if he thinks that Kirk Cousins sucks. Guarantee you, Kirk Cousins gets a contract extension because of Justin Jefferson. Brian goes, hey, Dan, what a great week you've provided for us Eagles playing tonight. I can't wait to see it too, man. Cherry on top. How about Mike Golick? He was great, huh? Hey, Quez, I'm looking forward to seeing Quez, man. Streets, I want to see where Quez fits into. I like him. I do. I'm trying to, Quez has a little bit of a Alvin Harper kind of deal to him. Big speed guy. Now, look, obviously, physically, Harper was a huge man, and Quez is not. I'm just talking speed. Pascal under the radar? Well, I'll tell you what, Sydney. He was brought in by Nick Sirianni for a reason. Christopher, isn't that crazy? This is the first time I agree with a comment made about Kirk Cousins. Christopher puts it right there front and center. Cousins' stats are awesome, but he's mediocre overall. Isn't that crazy? It's totally crazy. You're right. Okay? You're right. He's got a winning, watch this. Kirk Cousins has put together a damn good career. I wouldn't call it elite. And he's done elite things. 33 touchdowns and 7 picks last year is elite. I think he was 3rd in the league in passing according to Pro Football Focus. Then you turn around and you go like this. Yeah, Cousins sucks. Like I said, that's Justin Jefferson. If he thinks he sucks. If Cousins was starting on the Eagles right now, they'd be in the Super Bowl. Boy, I'll tell you what, I'd feel pretty. I think there'd be 3 1,000-yard pass catchers if Cousins was on the Eagles. I think Goddard would be in that conversation too. GT, I think some of it is garbage time. I do. I think they're empty calorie stuff a little bit there too, like Dak. See, you want to hear something? I'll take Cousins over Dak any day. I'll take Cousins over Dak. He's done it. He's proven it. He's got better numbers. Okay? I just – or maybe they're the same guy. Maybe they're the same guy, right? I mean, they almost look like the same guy. Empty calorie stats. Here, again, a little bit tonight, just so we finish this up here with this. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the coaching on how they coach the roster tonight. By the way, keep an eye on special teams. Man, hey, and by the way, keep an eye on this. This is something that a lot of young coaches don't handle well. Keep an eye on the sideline organization. If you see pre-snap penalties where guys don't know the teams that they're on, punt coverage, punt return, punt block, kickoff return, the number one thing that drives me nuts is pre-snap penalties. It takes no talent to line up right. Keep an eye on that if they're organized. The one thing that Barrett's been saying the whole time is that, they're going from drill to drill to drill. They're picking everything up. They're understanding everything. And they're being put in a position. It's great, especially when they're walkthroughs. But now you got in the game here. Are people going to be laser focused? I'm on the punt team. See, this is what happens on a Friday practice or probably Wednesday of this week. You're on the punt team. You're on the extra point team. And you're going to be going in on the third series. You've got to manage all of that, and you've got to be in tune because in exhibition games, your limited reps, you may make the team not based on what you do when you get in there on the second group defensively. You may be making the team on how you do when it comes to extra point or punt block or kickoff return or wedge blocking. You may make the ball club like that. And if you miss a rep like that and they got to call a timeout, your ass is toast. So keep an eye on all of that. That is the one thing that Coach Johnson used to always tell me. You want to know when a team is really being coached well? They're fundamentally in tune with everybody and what their job description is. Your job description is this team, that team, and you'll be going in on the third series and seventh series. Don't F it up. Don't F it up. That's right, GT. Another great point. GT, great. Tackling. I have not hit on that, and you called me on it, GT. Nice job. Let's keep our eyes on this tonight on missed tackles. They are not practicing tackling in camp. Will that be a factor tonight when it comes to playing this Jets team? Boy, I'll tell you something. If I see a shitload of missed tackles, that is going to be a pet peeve because that means you're not practicing angling. That means you're not practicing pursuit. That means you're not practicing the fundamental thing that football's built around, hitting and tackling. That is a great call, dude. Is keeping an eye on that tackling. No missed. Hey, I'll take a couple missed tackles because it's the first exhibition game and you got a lot of teams going in and out, which means you're going to have a drop in talent at certain positions when you get out there. So don't be stunned by that. But if you got a collective group where you've missed like 15 tackles, here, what you don't want to see is this too. Please don't let this happen when the game's over. 15 penalties and 15 missed tackles. Because then you got to redo everything you're doing in camp come Monday. I don't want to see that. Dude, how many times you see a team like the Raiders, 15 penalties, 15 missed tackles, and you wonder why you're looking at all the talent you have on the team, and you're look, 15 penalties, most of that shit's pre-snap. Missed tackles is practice. Blown coverages, it's okay because you may have a different grouping in there due to injuries. We have to see what circumstances are. What's the Eagles' record this year and how far do they go? Streets, I got them going to the NFC Championship game. I don't know what the record is, but I think they go to the NFC Championship game. I said 4 months ago. I said that 4 months ago. Let's see what happens. Hey, isn't it great? Let's tee it up. Rent's almost due. Let's see what happens. Jets and Eagles. Can't wait for it. Hey, you guys want to follow me over on Twitter at Dan Sileo Show. We'll keep an eye on what's going there. We appreciate it. By the way, Mike Gullick was awesome. Xander, you're spectacular. It's going to be a long night for Xander tonight, obviously. So we appreciate everybody coming aboard. Till Monday, 3 to 6. We'll see you.